Hello, everyone. Another glorious Monday. Man, I'm telling you, it was so hard this weekend because I actually had my granddaughter this weekend. And I'll tell you why it was hard when we get to basketball. But for right now, we're going to start off. It's United World of Sports, Dante Suave, Mystah Jay. We in the house. And it's time to get cooking. And we're gonna start it off. I I found this interview with Roy Jones Jr. and he is pissed at the UFC and he's calling him out.
Okay.
And I'm gonna play it and we'll critique it real quick.
Okay.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Moving up in weight and attempting, at greatness by trying to be. I just want to know what your thoughts are on David Benavidez moving up in weight and attempting, at greatness by trying to be the cruiserweight champion tonight.
David's always been destined to be great. David's always been that guy that looks to try to reach for the sky. It's like people like David Benavidez make you appreciate what you did because I challenged myself at different places. He challenges himself at different places. He got the message. That's the message I want to leave the boxing. So when I see him do things like that, it makes me feel good because it makes me understand that what God gave me, I pass it down properly to others. That's a beautiful thing.
Are you a bit surprised by how different boxing operates today versus when you were fighting?
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. Yes, I can't say I'm not. Yes.
Well, especially with now with everything that's going on, Sufa boxing, some challenges to the Muhammad Ali Act. Would you want to talk about that? Are you in support of it?
First of all, made Muhammad Ali Act say or to look out for the boxers. Why people change it for a promoter? Basically, change it back, say, okay, put the security bars on the building, so no one can break in. But since he lives in the neighborhood now, we know he like to break in stores. We'll give him the key to change it so he can get in. Come on, bro, really? Really? But then, like I said, for me, the best thing is that it was that good, all the extra UFC fighters will be talking about it. And they'll be saying good things about it. They don't. So if you didn't do good by your own people, it make me think you'll do good by mine. Now, yeah, you come and give a few of them a bigger bag than you used to get, smaller a few of them because you try to get your way in. But we already know what the final outcome is. Look at most of the fighters that retire from UFC, even the ones that come to boxing to make their real payday. They build up a name in UFC, but they couldn't make a payday. So you're gonna be bringing that same mold to boxing? Why would I do that? So I can't accept it. I'm sorry. I'm not the guy that says, "Oh, you." I'm not gonna accept that. But I can't accept that. My sport gives better payout to your people than your sport did. Then why would I want you to change my sport? It just don't make sense. That's the common part of it.
Are you a bit surprised by how much people are talking about it in the boxing space? It's almost like they're afraid to say out.
Boxing people are always afraid to piss people off with money. People think if they think people got money, they're afraid to piss them off. They're afraid of people may be able to do something for them what they would never happen. But if you look at it, it's most of the stuff that goes on now. Nobody ever says the truth about people that make money. You understand me? They don't want to challenge the money because they feel like they can't win the fight. I don't give a damn who you are. I'm gonna tell the truth.
It does look as though the Ali Act reform is going to pass.
It probably is, but it's gonna ruin boxing though. That's without a question. It's gonna ruin boxing totally.
Does it make you worry about monopolizing the sport 5, 10 years down the road?
It does in a sense, but they're not gonna monopolize it in this country. Just the rest of the world out there, you still gonna work. So for me, I don't buy it. I hate it for the people in this country because they're gonna be monopolized. They're gonna be basically slaves. They're gonna be own sheep. You don't get to decide what you wear no more. You don't get to decide who you are no more. You have no identity. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You just makes you a sheep. It does what your master said. That's wrong. But y'all that what they want? So yeah. I do boxing, thank God. Because it was in me, I would move out of the country. If they changed on me, I would move out of the country. I would fight. I would never afford to announce it again. Because that's how bad that is. People don't understand how bad it is.
Most people don't usually know what it is they're changing until it's been changed and they're not pleased with it.
Yeah, the problem is the Muhammad Ali Act allows you to know everything that came in, every penny, every dollar. You understand me? Now they're trying to change to where you can know what the fighters were paid, but you can't know how much they made on the whole event. They're gonna hide that. So they made 500 million. and you was the main event. But ain't you entitled to some of that? But they're going now because they're going to change the reform, you can't see that no more. So you won't be able to see what they made on the whole event no more. You only gonna be able to see what they paid you and your guy. That's not right because now you don't know how much that event that you participated in, that you might have been the main event in. You don't know how much money you brought in. So you can't know how much you gotta ask for next time. That's what they're basically doing, and that's stupid. And people not paying attention and not realizing. So people sign up for it, or you have to tell them to sign up for it. That's normal advice. That's why he did. You realize that that was a cheat because they don't pay attention to themselves when they come on.
At one point, obviously, boxers coming up in the ranks, the one thing they had looked forward to the most is to be able to have a shot at a world title. Seeing that they want to sort of abolish the sanctioning bodies, what are your thoughts on that?
You said a world title. That means that there was more than one, or more options. Because if you came along in the alley games heavyweight, you wouldn't win no world title unless there was more than one. About so many guys that probably should be heavyweight champion, but not heavyweight champion because the alley was there. So I mean, they have one title, and then one part about it now, they got one title, and they dictate who fights for that title. So if you get them all, you never get a title shot. So some of the best fighters in the world now, if they stand up for themselves and want to be themselves, they're not going to get a shot because you pissed off the sheep owners. You understand me? So if you want the sheep, you piss off the owner, you ain't going to eat no more. Oh.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, including myself, gets a little confused by all of the politics behind it because there are things we don't really know. It sometimes looks good on paper, but you're
what you get confused by is they throw the money here that you can see and understand and throw it in your face so that looks good. But you don't see what's going on over here. You understand? And that's what the problem is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks, but it does point towards it being changed, hopefully.
Like I said, it won't change all over the world, especially when they go for it. England already rejected it. They said, we're not having it. So the church was something wrong. Other countries are rejecting it. They tell you something wrong. That's every now and then. I ain't gonna I'm gonna chill out.
No, I mean, I think.
Chill out. The other countries didn't go for it and tell you something wrong with it. Like I said, for me, if I have an organization, you're in my organization, you start with my organization from your organization and make more than one or two fights in your organization than you made your whole career in my organization. Don't that like something wrong with my organization? So why would you want me now to change my organization or take yours down and change it like mine? Now you can't be the man at all. You got both of them. You got yours and mine tied up. So now you ain't gonna make no big money if you are that superstar. And guess what? They're gonna determine if you become a superstar now. Not your skills, not your ability, not your talent. They're gonna determine who becomes who. Same as UFC. They determine who becomes who. It's not about talent and winning awards, it's about who they want there. Trying to do the boxing. I'm sorry, that's not right. I don't care who you are. Talent, skill, well, all those things should determine who's the best, and you should have an opportunity to get a shot at the best if you want the best. Not have to kiss the ass to get to that, but they got total control of it. You got to kiss the ass, or you can't fight. You got to move out of the country. That's right. That's what we want to see in boxing. No, it's not. But that's what's about to happen. And they're too idiotic to understand that. Most of the people around too idiotic to understand what's really happening. They don't understand. By the time they get it, it's already too late. It's almost too late now. Nico understand, that's why he went there. Oscar understand, that's why he went there. But most people in boxing don't understand. They see $200, that's great money. No, it's not. Great money now, it's not great money tomorrow. History's gonna be erased. There's gonna be no such thing as WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO champ no more. Chad Crawford was known for being the four belt era champ more in 3-weight division. It's gonna be gone now. No such chance to do that anymore. And that's what we want in boxing. So we're gonna kill the history to make it look like UFC. Not make it out of here. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
You heard it from the champ.
All right. How you feel?
Roy said everything that should have been said, but he didn't kind of word it the proper way to where it would put more emphasis and the point across with it.
Mm-hmm.
So the long and the short of it is that this is no different than if you were a WWE fan and you saw how the TKO buyout Well, no, not even before the TKO buyout. When you saw that they started getting the Saudi money in
Yeah.
to where they had to start having pay-per-views over there. Think about how many people that were against the Saudi regime, Sami Zayn, um, a couple of others that had ties to 9/11 didn't want to participate and refused to participate in there or for because of that the women's rights, the human rights things that was in there for it.
Yeah.
But eventually what happened? They started wrestling in those pay-per-views because the money talked.
Yep.
Now you got TKO. Now we're sitting up here. We were shocked when we saw the New Day got cut. And all these big name people that they signed in free agency all of a sudden was getting cut off. But we keep on seeing the rehashes of the tribal chief, the Cody Rhodes story, the Gunther retiring people left and right. We keep on seeing that, and we're like, with all these people that you have below them that's younger, faster, stronger, or whatever, why do we keep on recycling these same headlines at the top? And the main reason why you
What?
keep on recycling those headlines at the top is because the powers that be that control it wants to advertise and bankroll off of those higher rollers at the top.
Well, I think what happened on the WWE end, I think a bunch of people dipped out that they wasn't expecting to dip out. Like
But,
the New
but
Day, the whole thing with the New Day was weird.
well, the
Cause
new it wasn't weird when they broke it down. They went to the New Day and said that they wanted them to take a pay cut. Why would you take your want somebody that's been in your top five in merchandising that you messed up? Your writers messed up the storyline and the script for them. When they had that to where they turned on Big E and they could have sat there
yeah,
and made
yeah.
that run and they never touched it. They turned them into some afterthought cosplay people that wasn't they were already that, but they made it to where they were
Yeah.
like goth and was sitting up there mourning and tried to make them hard and everything else. A lot of people don't realize the New Day was bad guys when they first came out, but their gimmick was so over they had to flip them. So why would you have them flip back to being bad guys with no direction? That falls on you.
I think I think that whole thing with with Big E, it got a reaction that was like so real and so bad that the WWE didn't realize
But
that
that's
was
what
gonna
you
happen.
but
And it
but they fail to realize that the part of the thing that made that so good is because in this blog streamer era, that reaction, that real life reaction, is what built the fan base without knowing the backgrounds of it to what they are today. You when
yeah,
you strip it, when you
that actually tripped me out when that happened. People
right,
like completely revolted when they turned on Big E.
right.
Like,
But the crazy part about it was that you caught that lightning in a bottle and then you let the lightning out because you were more worried about the PR than sitting up there saying, "Oh my God, we could use this and spend this to where Big E could have been became a he could have became a manager and could have went to the Street Profits and boosted the Street Profits. He could have
which
sat there. He could,
which that's what Tasha was literally screaming on my other show.
yeah.
That that that's what they should have done with it. So the fact that you're saying this now is like completely ironic. But my bad. Go ahead.
Because it makes it to where it it takes away that predictability. We get so hung up on one of the things that I'm really starting to lean into as we dig deeper into this podcast and then into other ventures is that a lot of those things that pop up that's clickbait on any of the sites. It's not just on the internet. ESPN, Bleacher Report, Athletic, they all do the clickbait thing throughout the day where it's somebody that's sitting up there that comes up with the idea of, oh my God, that trade went down with Myles Garrett. All right, so who else can be on the trading block from there? Who can the Bengals trade Joe Burrow for? And what can they get back from it? Why are we going down this rabbit hole and that's not an option right now? Because it's a slow news day and you have nothing to do better with your life than to try to drum up something to try to get clicks. That's what that is.
Yeah.
But and so when you get into this situation that you're talking about, when you're talking about Zuffa and you're talking about UFC and them infiltrating boxing, we've we cannot sit there and talk about how corrupt the WBO, the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF, I mean the IBO have been towards fighters and how we've never gotten the fights that we wanted to when we also lived in an era where Floyd Mayweather was dictating who he fought during that time frame and was banking most of that money that he was claiming that he had from Showtime from that deal that now
Yeah.
he's going back now and suing Showtime because he didn't because it was pretty much IOUs that he was using to purchase stuff and they never gave him the money for it. So you see right there, that had nothing to do with the IBF, the WBO, WBA, and any of those factions. That has something to do with
Showtime, HBO.
with Showtime and Floyd Mayweather. But we let what was the biggest thing? Floyd ain't fighting nobody, but everybody was still paying to go see Floyd fight.
Yep.
So now you got Zuffa, who, yes, it's not right all the time. The UFC their ranking system sometimes makes my head scratch on how the number 5 fighter can sit there and challenge for the world championship. And mainly it's because this fighter fought within this time frame, so they fall out of line with it. And this fighter fought during this time frame to get moved up, and they have to wait for that non-compete for the 90 days or something like that. I get that. But the combination of their matchmaking and the money that they have backing them for that is going to sit there and pretty much absorb the rest of them. And
Yeah,
it
and the
sucks.
fans kind of dictate it too. That
Right.
the fans kind of dictate. It's like if somebody get hot, they ranking may not be that high, but and then
That buzz, it's
yeah,
that buzz creates the buys.
yeah, and,
Because I
and
saw something, this last night or this morning where they were talking about how much of a loss Paramount is really taking by buying the rights for UFC when they paid double what everybody was offering for the UFC and they were operating at a loss. So they're not going to get paid too much. They're banking on the fact of that plus Zuffa is going to recoup the money that they paid in order to get it for the 7-year deal. But there's no guarantee that Zuffa's going to take off.
right. And although I will say this, because me and you have talked about it, um, the fights when I have been able to watch Zuffa fights.
Mm-hmm.
If I got to choose between that organization and what Jake Paul be putting on Netflix, I'm sorry.
You're going to pick Zuffa.
Right. Because
But
they pick actual fighters. They pick fights that of actual fighters actually trying to come up, actually trying to work, and you can see it.
mm-hmm.
And whereas me and you have talked about the whole nostalgia act that Jake Paul mostly banks off of, and don't get me wrong, what he's doing, I commend the mission.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like the what's the word I'm looking for? How it's being created or how it's being done. because of the fact that, like I said, if you look at Zuffa, you can say whatever you want about the pan, you're not wrong. But the one thing I will say is this: you watch, you see these fighters, and the fighters that they bring, they're going for guys that are actually willing to put in the work, the guys that are actually they understand that they got to work their way up to the money, which from a business standpoint, obviously that works for them. It's like, oh, so you willing to, you know what your level is, so you willing to take this money that I'm giving you and turn it into bigger money, which works for me because that means that I can take most of the profits on your way up. So I get it. I get it. It's some people might find that hard to believe that I get it, but I get it. Why? Because I'm 49 years old. Why? Because I've worked regular jobs. I understand how the regular job situation works.
Right.
They want you to work hard. You're going to make them more money than you're going to make for yourself. That's the way, that's business. That's regular business. That's how it's going to go. No matter how much money they're offering you, they always make sure that their profits is going to end up more than what you could possibly be making. And that's the way it's always going to be. And there's nothing you can do about it other than creating your own business and becoming them, which will get you hated. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
But it's like, we've had this discussion before. I can't get up. You they you the not you the you men men of the world. You allowed Jake Paul to get to this situation. You
Yeah.
allowed it. Y'all sat there. Y'all condoned all the fights, all the gimmicks, and everything else until he stepped in the ring with somebody else and ended his career, like I predicted. So
Well,
now,
he heard the naysayers. He heard what they were saying. Like, why don't you fight somebody? Every time you fight somebody close to your age that actually got some oomph, you lose.
mm-hmm.
And he kept hearing that, and he fell for the okey doke. He did. And dare I say, I don't think that in well, less than 3 months now, I don't think he should be trying to mess with Mike Perry for real.
Let him. You know what? At this point,
Right?
I've been saying what I've been saying is what I'm gonna stand on. If the idiot, if if you got a kid, no, let's use the old children's song that we hear. One little monkey jumping off bed, one fell off and bumped his head. When the second and that third and that fourth monkey comes and they still want to jump on the bed and they still want to fall off and they still want to bump their head until there's no more monkeys, let them keep on jumping. No,
Yeah.
keep on doing it. Because it's not, I don't think Zoot was going to be bad. I think Zoot was going to make those other federations tighten up. Because you've already heard it with the boxers with what they claim and how easily they will throw them belts in the trash can. You seen what Terrence Crawford did when they said, oh, he didn't pay his fee. Terrence was like, man, here, take your dang on belt. Because I don't want to pay your fees and I fought and I won that title. Come on now. It's like you have to pay to play. And and that shows the greed with it. When it's supposed to be about the art. Everything is about the greed now.
Well, it's
So,
been about that because I found out about you could have knocked me over with a feather when I found out that one of the reasons why only certain bands get to go to festivals is they literally have to pay to play at those festivals.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait, what? I thought y'all were supposed to get paid to go to the festivals, not
No,
the other way around.
no. That whole payola scheme is rampant everywhere. But that's why I'm saying, like, if I gotta pay you to fight your guy to win your belt, win that belt, and I gotta pay an extra fee on top of the purse to you for that, make that make sense to me. Because I won. Fine. I'll take that bet away. How many fighters in the past year or so have you heard sit there and say the only belt that they care about is the Ring Magazine belt? The one that's saying that they're the best, they're they are, or they done won the pound for pound best fighter in Ring Magazine. Why? Because Ring Magazine is not a federation. That is the collective that they bank their rankings off of. So yeah, I'm gonna be more worried about that belt than I will be for a sanctioning body, because here's the thing: you can strip me of all the titles because I ain't paid no money for it. So I'm not your champ across all four. But if I beat all four of your champions, does that make them better than me? No. That's why Terrence could retire on that shield, because Terrence was like, you take all the belts. I don't care. I didn't beat everybody that you done lined up against me. That's why Floyd can sit there and say, with quotation marks, I don't care, because I didn't beat everybody that you done lined up against me. But what happens is that when you can't sit there and give me a very good reason why person A has belts one and two. They going after three. Three's champion doesn't want to fight them, or because three's champion, their number two ranked person is not is above the person that's that champion. They want that mandatory fight before he does that, and that's not fitting in time frame for it. It starts getting convoluted. And Zuffa's aiming to try to deplete that convolution of it. And if they can do a good job of it based off of using that UFC model in order to do that, and they still giving out the same paydays as these fighters were getting off the rip, because let's be real, all these boxers that's getting paydays is getting paydays from Golden Boy, Al Heyman, or the Saudis. That's it. So where's the clamoring? Where the federations have been a joke for a while. The federations, we knew the federations was a joke back in the Ali days. And even with Tyson, look at some of the people that Tyson had to fight in order just to get the belts and collect them all. People that was like, how are you a freaking champion?
Fair.
And most of the time it would be because, and the other part, remember when we had the conversation about boxing and we were sitting up there like, okay, who's a champion? And we was going through the list and it was a champion. It was an interim champion. It was a special champion or something like that. And then it would be another weight class, and it'll be an interim champion, everything else. Why is there interims and the person that's the champion is fighting? That interim should have went against the champion in order to take away that interim as soon as they both was eligible. What the hell? But
boxing, and then that's when that was another thing that was making it die down, because of the fact that uh the champion usually didn't want to fight the interim because there wasn't enough money on it.
Right. And that's it. Basically became almost like it came to Oprah Winfrey show. You get a championship. You get a championship. You get a championship. Everybody wins a championship. Look under your seats. And that's what made it to where it snowballed to where it's like, nah, man, no. That's why I can sit there. Honestly, I stopped paying for fights. I'll watch a replay the next week on the daggone channel that was sponsoring it. I could wait as long as I knew who won, unless I was at a bar. I wasn't paying for no fights.
Right.
Because it made no sense. Most of the time you can sit there and you knew who was going to win and where from what it was. And if it was something against that, you knew that it was some type of either possible fix or they was just out for a payday. I want it to be where I'm looking at it and I'm like, ooh, Terrence Crawford going against Errol Spence too, and Errol been knocking out people, or he going against Boots Ennis. Ooh, okay. Or like Shakur's interaction with I think it was Snoop this weekend, where they would sit up there. He was like, "Nah, I'll beat your ass." They was talking. They weren't talking like verbally jabbing. They was ready. Like if security didn't come in there, they would have probably swung on each other in the ring. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see this. Oh, you know what? So we made this fight because we feel like we the two best in the era and we want to show off our boxing skills. He actually a good dude. No, I want to see you ready to beat the brakes off of him when he come off the bus. Be standing outside the bus, hitting on the side of the bus, like, come on, we can do this now.
Now, see, I'm on the fence about that, and the reason why I'm on the fence about it is because of what's gonna come along with that, and you know what I mean by that. Like people gonna see it. Some people gonna see it, realize this is they're gonna think of it as just entertainment. Other people gonna look at it and go, "Oh, there they go again. They can't they can't help themselves. They just gotta
But
act."
it's not, but here's the thing. It's not just us. They can't have that thought process if you think about the Ricky Hattons. If you sit there and you think about Pacquiao, think about Juan, think about Marquez, think about Duran. You can't have that thought process.
You can't, but you know they do.
Yeah, and that goes into what he was saying before. A lot of these fickle-minded people will sit there and be so stuck on not trying to work, not trying to piss off the people that has the money, not trying to piss off or trying to be PG in a sport that's never been PG, and sit there and then the one sit there and be like, oh, they're just being animals. They're boxing in a ring or in a cage. What else would you want it to be? When people do it, it's a form of entertainment. If we put animals in a cage doing that, it is cruelty. It all depends on what through the eyes of what the people are looking through it as, and that's not. We'll sit there. We done seen people recently sit up there, get stretchered out, be put in medical induced comas and everything for what? Our entertainment and their livelihood. But we still watch it.
Fair. That's fair.
So it's I feel Roy's point. Roy has it's been it's been sad to see Roy do his podcast and his talking versus Andre Ward, because you can see how the later years of Roy's conversation they've kind of started to take their toll on his faculties versus Andre got out when Andre got out, and he still has a lot of them and he can articulate it a little bit better. But at the same time, I still value all of their opinions when it comes to this, because this landscape and this dynamic for professional sports as a whole has changed. If you would sit there and you would told me 10 years ago, most of our fights would be not on a pay-per-view where we got to pay on a cable station, but we trying to make sure that we have a premium account, or we got to pay through a streaming account we already paying for in order to get it. Players in all the way from high school all the way up are getting paid to play. And you got outside sanctioning bodies that's against the norm coming in there and actually infiltrating and disrupting the norm. I would have never thought that. But this is the world that we live in now. So you have to, when it comes to the acts like the Muhammad Ali Act and everything else, a lot of these fighters are not going to care about the Muhammad Ali Act, because as long as they got some money in their pockets for it, that they can live the extravagant lifestyles that they ain't worried about seeing how much the actual gate was. They just worried about what they're getting paid. But when these boxers are also moonlighting as their promoter, or they get a higher percentage for doing certain things, then what? Because nobody's even asked the question is a lot of people don't understand that Zuffa gives the best fight of the night a bonus. Are they gonna do that for boxing too? Because what if you had a spectacular 12 round fight that was on your undercard and your super and you go out there and your main event ends in 30 seconds? Is the main event, can you kick some money to that best fight that was in there that went 12 rounds? We don't know. They haven't said that. But on the
If
flip side,
if I know Dana, even if he don't start off doing it, he'll end up doing it. The crowd and the clamor, he will end up doing it. Because I remember so many times in the press conference, he would be sitting up there and he would be uh talking about the fights that he liked, and one of the reporters would point out the fight that everybody liked, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah. They're getting paid. They're getting paid a bonus, and they're getting paid bonus money. Yeah, that fight. I liked the other fight, but yeah, you're right. They're right. This fight was off the chain too. They're getting a bonus too. It's so so yeah. Trust me, it'll
and I hope so. I really hope so that he's going to do that in order to make it to where it's feasible for these fighters that are doing that, because it's not boxing is boxing is about as dangerous of a sport as it is, because you really don't have anything protecting you from the other person. It's not like you're in a racing suit that if the car catches fire, you have a fire retardant suit. It's not like you in pads and stuff when you hit. If boxing and the slap thing is the two things I'm sitting up there looking at that like, why would you even do that? But please continue to do it because it's entertaining.
do you see what be happening to some of their faces?
Yes, from the swelling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my. Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of getting off into it. I think I done watched all the episodes that they got on Tubi. Because they got it on Tubi.
But it's crazy when you see it but I'm like, I can't stop watching it.
Right.
And it sucks because I'm like, I shouldn't be watching this. This is bad, but it's so good. But it's bad, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Especially to see them when they fold up like the Nike sign and just fall back from it, because you know they just got cracked. Like, okay,
They just completely go stiff.
yeah, rigid.
All right. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I definitely agree with uh with a lot of what Roy said, and it is the truth. And eventually it is gonna get to that point to where somebody gonna find out exactly how much money they making, and then everybody's gonna be in the uproar over it. And like he said, by then it's gonna be too late. What's done is done, and then you're gonna try to vilify them like they were doing the NCAA all them years,
Hmm.
and then they're gonna create a change, and then you ain't gonna like that change either. There's gonna be
No,
something about that change that you ain't gonna like, because it's gonna go in the fighter's favor, and then the fighters is gonna run amok, and then you're gonna be like, oh, now the inmates is running the asylum. Well, what? Why do you
but
think that they
why do you
had it
think
the
they
way they
would?
had it to make sure that the inmates wouldn't run the asylum?
Hmm.
But you wanted them. But power, kind of like another good example is like when people got mad about all the amenities that prisoners were all of a sudden getting, and people were mad and was like, I'm paying my tax money for that. Well, you wanted to make sure that they were being treated well, and and
Humanely,
and, and that they were being treated humanely, and that came at a price.
right? And then you
So
sit up there, and you
it
like, well, what do you mean? It had to be. this in order for us to be able to, for it to be seen that way. Like, for a fact, I'm sorry. What humans are humans, give you that one. But if that human then took multiple people's lives, why would I not want to see that person deal with what they're dealing with?
The whole point of consequences is suffering, and whether people want to admit it or not, we don't even we could know we dead in the wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't want to suffer the consequences on any level, not just a prison level, but just you living your life and you make a bad decision and it comes back to blast you in the face, whether it be you in a relationship, you cheating on your girl, then you find out your girl found out that you was cheating on her, so she started cheating on you, and then you get mad, like how you gonna cheat on me? Like, wait, hold on, back up the train. You
Yeah.
were cheating, but like, yeah, I was cheating, but she
They
mine.
don't make, I
It was
was just
like
hitting
he
them.
was cheating, and that's my PP. That's mine. It's like you didn't care that much about it. That's why you was off with somebody else.
But that's the
Hopefully it wasn't his friend. Hopefully it wasn't his coworker. Hopefully it wasn't one of his relatives.
right.
But
But
I mean, it just the humans and the way that whole situation work with our brain and not wanting to suffer consequences, we are so off the chain with it. We are so off the chain with it. And speaking of consequences, this is a perfect segue because one of the topics we discussed, we gonna make this quick because this is pretty clear cut and simple.
mm,
Um, but this whole thing between Carter and Dart, and the reason why I want to talk about it is because the one thing that the gentleman that was talking about it, he brought up, how is this gonna go with the chemistry of the team?
they don't care.
And how's this gonna go with the fan base? How is this gonna work? You
It's
just turned a potential situation where the Giants were looking like, oh, maybe the Giants are going to be a problem for Dallas. They're also going to be a problem for Dallas and everybody else because they got a new coach. They got Jackson Dart. If they improve that offensive line and they get Carter some help, some consistent help, the Giants could be a problem. Oh, guess what? We got a problem. And it's an off the field problem, but not a normal off the field problem because it involves Donald Trump.
small. I mean, this is his.
So I'll go ahead and play this real quick so that we can work it through, and let's go.
The man credit that he spoke his truth and did not sugarcoat his feelings. I give the man credit that he spoke his truth and did not sugarcoat his feelings about the situation. He did not give you a cliched answer. No. And I think there's something to be respected about that. But when I play these comments to you from Abdul Carter, my gut is that it is going to turn Giants Nation on its side. And I think there's going to be now a civil war amongst Giant fans about Abdul Carter as a New York Giant. And I'm not taking sides on it. I'm not a Giant fan, but I'm going to play it unedited. And you can decide for yourself if these comments from Abdul Carter are a net positive for the New York Giants, if you think these comments put this story to bed, or you think these comments create a real situation now moving forward for the New York Giants, and to be honest, for you guys as fans. I appreciate he's saying it and how he feels about it, but those comments are not going to be taken well from a certain segment of the Giant fan population. Do you think Abdul Carter made it better, worse, or neither?
Yeah, I mean, it made it worse, I suppose. It certainly didn't put it to bed, as he put it at the end. I'd like to put this to bed. I don't think it did anything to put it to bed, that's for sure. When he makes the comment on social media, I think we all assumed that's how he felt. I'm not surprised hearing that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he doesn't like President Trump.
Right.
Does
he have a problem that his head coach is a Trump supporter?
No, that's going to be the question.
Right.
That's now the next question.
How is it not the question?
He didn't downplay it. He didn't say, "Hey, look, I just."
He said anybody wearing a giant logo.
He said anyone wearing a giant logo represent us, represent the team, and if they're going to align themselves with a man like President Trump, that I feel I have to speak out and speak my truth.
I give the man credit that he spoke his truth and did not sugarcoat his feelings about the situation.
Okay.
Okay.
Now let me see.
It's to align himself with a man like President Trump. It's my responsibility, based on what I believe and what I stand on, to not only show my teammates that I'm against that, but to show the world. But first off, I want to say that some things are bigger than football, and this is one of those things. Jackson is one of our leaders. He's the face of our franchise. He not only represents himself and what he does, but he represents all of us. And that goes for anybody who wears a Giants uniform. But if he chooses to align himself with a man like President Trump, it's my responsibility, based on what I believe and what I stand on, to not only show my teammates that I'm against that, but to show the world. And that doesn't mean that we have to spread hate. It doesn't mean that me and Jackson hate each other or we have beef. I sit next to Jackson every day. Every team meeting, we close, we talk. As long as we make sure we got the same goal as a team and our goals align, which they do, and I feel like that's all that matters. So I just want to move past this, and yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Hello, 2026. Oh my
The
God.
geopolitical landscape.
Oh my God. How am I drawing a blank? Oh, this is about to piss me off. You go ahead, give your comments on it while I'm get my head together.
I understand the world that I live in, and I understand what the current world is. Neither person was right, neither person was wrong in this situation. Jackson Dart has his right as an American citizen to follow whatever party that he wants to be a part of whatever party that he wants to, and to interact what he sees fit with that. Abdul Carter has the right to object to that. That's built into our Constitution. That's built into our Bill of Rights. We have that right to be able to have that. The problem that we have now is that what would have probably been an internal struggle or internal conversation between individuals about that normally happens 99% of the time if it's brought up throughout any type of workplace in America right now, especially in as divisive of a country that we're in right now, for it, and would never have made the light of day. It just so happened that the young quarterback in the biggest city in the nation did it. And their defensive stalwart, who, let's be real, was Abdul Carter the modern citizen last season when he was with the Giants? No. Came out with his opinion about it, and everybody wants to have it cause an uproar. It's only going to be an uproar if the two people that have the disagreement can't see eye to eye. That's it. We can bicker about it all we want to, because it's out there in the ether. It's out there in the world for it. And your views might be different than mine. It might be different than Damon's that's up here at the school. It might be different than the people that's working in the the Cincinnati Democratic National offices around the corner from here. But at the end of the day, that's our opinions. We have gotten to a point when it comes to media to where differences of opinions becomes divisive instead of being points of a conversation start. And that's why when they go through this, The Giants are trying to rebuild. They're trying to get themselves ready for their season to where it looked like they might have been turning a corner, like you started out with. And the number one story that's going to be in front of their faces throughout, if before Abdul Carter said what he said, would have been, have you talked to Jackson about the situation that happened at the Donald Trump rally? Or when John Harbaugh came up there, hey, John, have you talked to the players about their disagreement that they've aired through there for? Not about the team, not about their goals, not about what they're building on. It's going to come back to, have you talked to this person? Have y'all talked to y'all about what was going on? Have you did this? Have you done this part of it? And people are going, then after a couple of weeks of hearing that, then what's our conversation going to be? Oh man, why they keep on talking about this? Well, it happened. It's in the past. But in certain instances, they still want to debate it because it's right here in the now when they're trying to put it in the past. Nobody was right. Nobody was wrong. They were doing their individual things. Now, I know why you're making that face. Because at the same point, we always sit there and say the quarterback is the CEO of the franchise. And whatever they do reflects on the franchise. So, some people can sit there and say that what he did looks bad or the New York Giants franchise. Let's be real here and let's be completely honest. Isn't Tisch one of the co-owners of the Giants? Wasn't Tisch's name in the Epstein files? Has anybody said anything about that?
They said something about it, but there was a spin put on it, and I will try to.
Everybody's been putting a spin on it if their
Yeah,
name showed up in that file.
but basically the whole Epstein files is been turned into the Diddy files. It's like, yeah, I was there, but you
I
got
didn't partake in anything that
you
was going on
you
in there.
you
You
got to
can't
make
commit.
sure that you know exactly what I was doing there. Don't
Right,
don't just don't just vilify me because I was there.
right.
Make sure you know what I was doing.
So let's call a spade a spade. If Tisch would sit there and say that Trump can have a rally in MetLife Stadium, or he could be in a box during a game at MetLife Stadium for the Giants, is there going to be an outcry because he's allowing that? Shoot, let's think about it from what they said already. I forgot what the name of the owner of the Knicks is. I know it, but it's
Dolan,
Dolan. Dolan already invited Trump to come to one of the games. He'll be the first sitting president to be at an NBA Finals game in
yeah,
Madison Square Garden.
yeah.
So, is that showing what Dolan's hand is? Does Dolan get backlash for that? Or would it be a different thing if who was it? If Jalen Brunson sat there and said that he invited him to come to the game?
Or was against it.
Or
Okay,
was against it. That's what I'm saying.
so
It's left to interpretation, and some of the things to where it's an objective choice by somebody to do something based off.
mhm.
We don't know what Jackson's Dart's beliefs was before he came into the league. We know he played for Ole Miss, and you got to remember Ole Miss is the running Rebs. So you know where he went to school at. You know where this was. So you can't sit there and say that you're surprised about it, but you also can't be surprised in light of the whole Black Lives Matter, the whole civil rights, the civil rights, liberties, and laws that's getting repealed right now, that an African American player would come out and say that they was against it, especially if they're Muslim. You can't sit there and say anything.
Okay. Now, couple of realities. Let's start with the most important one. And I've told you this. I've told you this over and over, and I'm so sick of it. This dementia or Parkinson's or suffering from memory loss that we seem to have, we blame social media so much. We blame we blame the generation so much, and it's not true. Nothing that is happening is actually new.
No.
None of it. It happened. It happened before. You just had to be watching the news to know about it. You had to be reading the newspaper to know
Yep.
about it. The newspaper was social media. The news was social media
Yep.
before there was an actual social media that gave more people ways and access. Yes,
Yep.
the access has gotten bigger, but the drama, the TV show is still the same. The United States was about as united now as it was since its inception. So don't I'm tired, and this is why I don't really get caught up in it
Hmm.
because I I try my best to be a realist, and this is the real, and nobody likes hearing it. They don't. So, and when they don't like to hear it and they can't stand to hear it, the only thing united about the United States is the name. Now, you have
Well,
pockets of people that are united.
yeah.
You have pockets of people that are united. For instance, anybody that voted for Trump, that likes Trump, they're united.
Right.
Anybody that does not like Trump, they're united.
Hmm.
But then again, you start bringing up some other subjects, then all of a sudden they're not as
They're
united.
divided. Yep. Yep.
You bring up some other subjects. You just got to figure out what the subject is, and the most united people on the one hand will start looking at each other like, wait, what? Remember, we still have religion, we still have relationships, we still have music.
Hmm. We still have a whole crap ton of stuff that's divisive
Yes.
in this grand scheme of things, and it's crazy.
How you parent your kids. Dance, puppets dance.
Right. And it never fails because we'll sit there until we're blue in the face and say, well, you know what? I don't believe in this. I don't believe in this. Okay, that's fine. That's your opinion, and that's your reasoning for why you don't believe in it. But that does not make it to where that's mine. And I don't have the right in this world, in this country that was built on these type of disagreements to where I can sit there and ostracize or alienate you because your belief is not the same as mine. Because if that's the case, then nobody would be friends because we would find at least one thing that we would disagree upon. And if we live by that premise of it, we could not see past the fact that we disagree upon that one thing, no matter how minute.
And like I've said on this show, and I'll take a second to beat a dead horse, and I will say again, when Trump got shot, my friend who is a Trump supporter made a shirt. It has a silhouette of Donald Trump. He's giving the middle finger, and the shirt said, "You missed, bitches." And when I went to the show, and he had the band's merch, and then because he makes the shirts, he had his own Donald Trump merch, and you could come up and buy both.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking up to go say hi to him, and he had his wife with him, so I'm walking up to say hi to both of them. And as soon as I saw the shirt, I busted out laughing. I was like, you know what? you're my friend. I will buy that shirt. That shirt made me laugh. I was like, give me that shirt. That's the only reason I bought it.
Yeah,
Don't be sitting up there thinking because I bought it or you see me in it, that means that I voted
right.
for Trump because you would be wrong. I bought it because I was supporting my friend and it made me laugh. I'd had a long week. That was part of the reason why I was at the show, not only to support my friends, but to
To get away, to escape.
mentally get away from things. And then he put the cherry on top by making me laugh with that crazy shirt.
And see, that's what it all boils down to when you really sit there and think about it. Politics, when it comes to politics, we get so wrapped up in, and me and you've had this conversation when I sat there and said this. As a former history major, as a lover of American history, of Greek mythology, of world history, and current events, we've gotten to a point to where we treat the differences of a Republican and Democrat like Bloods and Crips in South Central would treat themselves.
Always. Yep, they've been doing it for years.
Right. But we don't want to say that. And we didn't start really starting to think that way until we start seeing the political violence between the two sides.
Oh,
But it's all
I personally have been saying it for the longest time. That's why it's hard for people to really argue with me. Like I said, I don't, I can count on one hand how many people I've argued with, and that's just because they really like, I was taking a guy to Monroe and he just did not like the fact that I was agreeing with them that the Democrats were the enemy. We just weren't agreeing on the reason.
right.
I was like, they're both there. You're not gonna sit up here and tell me that 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 they're not both responsible. That's like
Well,
having two parents in a house and the kids have run amok and you're only blaming one parent.
yeah, right, right. And see, and that's what people fail to realize is that everything that goes on, as much as we want to say that, as much as they act like pointing across the alley to it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault. Okay, at what point do you stop doing that in order to better the people that you've been elected to represent?
Like I bet if I look it up right now, even though Donald Trump is a Republican, he's a Republican, right?
Yeah.
And I actually looked this up, me and a friend of mine and her son, because we were talking about this exact subject. And it 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 got a little interesting. But we ended up looking it up online and we ended up figuring out if you really look and see who had the majority during the other party's terms,
Uh-huh.
I think there was only one time that the party that had the presidency had the person being president had majority pretty much the whole time they were in office. One time out of all the times.
Yep.
So if something's getting passed, how is it happening?
Exactly. And that's what.
If all this stuff that the Republicans are doing, that the Democrats are doing, how is it all getting passed? And then you have to deep dive because apparently, even though it's true that you usually have to have a majority, even if um you you still have to have votes from the other side, even even if the one side has the majority, apparently that doesn't apply to everything. Well, it doesn't apply to everything, which would also explain why certain things that Republicans have done that people don't like got through. and certain things that Democrats, but everybody wants us to look at one side.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait,
Everybody
y'all
wants.
both got stuff. All I got to do is watch the news that supports the Democrats and figure out what the Republicans have been doing. That when people hear it, they go, they did what?
Right.
And then you watch the people the news station that reports that supports the Republicans, and you find out every crazy thing that the Democrats have been doing, and then you're like, y'all did what
And it's a constant
with
back
my
and forth.
money?
Right. Right.
Like I'm paying taxes for that.
You think about it from this standpoint. We're sitting up here. When I got home before I came up here, they were talking about Duke Energy is getting ready to try to pass another rate increase for upwards to 5% on electric, 8% on gas. That'll go in effect starting this time next year. We elect officials to represent us to try to make our living better for us
And it's
along
not
with them.
gonna happen
And it doesn't happen because as soon as they get into office and somebody with a little bit of pull or something might get in their ear and start directing them to go down this pathway for it, they'll forget the even some of the good ones. They will forget where they are to go with where the flow is. And
because they
that's
don't because if they want to keep their job.
right.
One, you got to remember that they're at work. Number two, you got to remember that a number of these people are business
It's
people. They
yes.
are in they have friends, they have ties.
Yeah.
And those friends that are connected that help them with their campaign, they weren't doing that for free.
Oh, no. It's
That's why I
very
laugh every time people bring up all the illegal immigrants. It's like, can we stop?
no,
Can
it's it's
can we
very
stop? Because it's you're not. I would love to be a fly on the wall to see how many of the politicians actually 100%, 150% mean what they say a lot of these times. If you really pay attention to it, I don't care who was the president. I don't care who had the majority.
mhm.
A lot of stuff ain't getting done because they spend too much time arguing. And anybody that is a knowledgeable adult knows that a situation where there's more arguing than coming up with solutions, it don't work. It don't work in relationships. It don't work at your job.
Nope.
That's why people get fired, people get moved because it gets to the point it's like, okay, we know that this is a whole lot of mess going on, but at least let's get the people, let's move these people around and get them to the point to where they most of the time get along so my business can stay open.
Right.
Now, um, I said we weren't going to take too long with this, but obviously this is a deep, important subject. But I am going to end with this. I hope to God that Abdul Carter didn't just make himself Colin Kaepernick 2026.
And you know what? If he, I hope that we've learned so much from Colin Kaepernick to where it doesn't turn into that.
At least part of it, because
At least part of
it got to the point to where the longer it went on, it went from he was the victim to he was kind of bringing a lot of stuff on himself. I'm sorry. I just
it. Yeah, I get it. That's why
I'm
I'm
gonna
not.
call a spade, especially when it first popped off and it talked about his parents. He got the money, things died down, and then all of a sudden, between him and Michael Orr, they both turned on their parents.
Yep.
And then people just kind of looked and went, you know what? Bye.
Yeah.
Like
And
that
they
was like whoever was left that had that Colin Kaepernick was supporting, that had Colin Kaepernick had their support. They were done at that point.
They
Like,
were
wait,
done.
you turned on your parents, bro? Now they're racist? Oh, you know what? Oh, okay. This came out of nowhere. Okay,
The explanation for it that came out of there was something that was totally weird, and it was just like, what do you want me to do? What it's not.
now if you had been saying this all along,
Then I can feel you on that.
that's one thing.
Right.
But to go through what you went through, they they were your support. You were on TV with them
Yep.
saying that they were your support and they helped you. They helped you as you grew up. And then all of a sudden, when you didn't get what the way it looked, the way it allegedly looked, things quieted down. You had still not gotten on the team because at the end of the day, everybody still wanted a guarantee that you weren't going to kneel.
Yeah, that is
That's
true.
essentially what kept him off of teams. Kind of like with Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow went through the same thing. Only the details were different. There were teams that were willing to sign him, but he was not going to be a quarterback. Same situation, details are different.
It's gonna be where that whole fight, when it comes to that, just makes it to where that that whole thing, we've been saying that, and I hate to say the truth when it comes out to it, freedom ain't free.
Yes,
You
freedom
don't.
ain't free, and freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech is a joke.
Yes. Because freedom of speech is free when it's beneficial to the people that it's being spoken about.
Yes, you have the right to freedom of speech as long as you could take it into court and win, as
Hmm.
long as you have the right people in the right places to
Yep.
to that support you, and therefore you're going to get more support because people support them. If you
Yep.
do not have that power, it doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how poor you are. You are screwed. And I could come up with we could come up with black people that are great examples. We could come up with white people that are great examples because let's be honest, with as racist as of a world that we think that we're in, did we ever think that we were going to see the Clippers owner lose his team after one?
No, we were shocked.
Now, with all the talk about the racism in the WWE, did we ever see that even though it didn't last, it went for a few years.
Hmm.
But when Hogan said what he said and did what he did, they pulled his merch and he was
Yeah.
blackballed. He was not allowed to come to anything WWE for the longest time,
And
at
you want to
least
know what's the
5 years.
but you want to know what the craziest part about it though was? What dropped as soon as he passed? A Netflix documentary sanctioned by WWE, where he got to address his side of the story.
Yeah. Now I told you about this, and again, we're gonna end with this because we got a lot more fun stuff to talk about. The only thing that came out of that was my thing of I would want to know if he saw me on the street and he gave me his autograph and he took my picture. Is he doing it because he wanted to, or is he doing it because makes him look good? He's Hulk Hogan. He's a legend. It makes him look good. It's an attention thing to make him look like something that he's not, which
Ooh,
is
yeah.
somebody that is okay with my people.
Right. That's why I'm like, it doesn't.
That's where I've stood with it. Now if I saw him out in public, I'm not gonna say nothing crazy to him.
I would. Hey,
But
sweet.
like I said, if I saw him out in public and I asked for his autograph, are you doing it genuinely or are you doing it just because you don't want no backlash? If if you turn me away and I jump on social media, and say that you turned me away.
Right.
That's just like now I got told to go to therapy. And I'm like, no. And my sister was like, why? Because she knew where my head was at back in October.
Hmm.
And she was like, you really need to do this. I said, no. And she said, why? I said, one of my issues is I feel like nobody cares about me. Why am I going to go to a therapist? They're paid.
To lie and tell me that they
They're
care about
they're they're
me.
they're they're paid to act like they care about me. One of my problems with my mental health is that I feel like nobody cares about me. I want you around me because you want to be, not
Right.
not because you're paid to be. If you're paid to be, that means you have to be. You're forced to do it.
Right.
I
It
want
makes
to I want to know that whatever you do, especially seeing the way my life has gone, I want to know that you are here for the long haul. That means if my mental health has me acting some kind of way, you already know what it's about. You're not gonna leave. That
true.
the unconditional love that other people have, and a lot of people have done way crazier stuff than me, and yet they still have family around. They still have family they can call up. They still have people that show. They don't just say that they love them. They show that they love them.
Right.
There are people in prisons that have more family support than I could ever think of.
Yeah.
You know how depressing that is?
Oh yeah.
And with that, because we're not gonna go down this rabbit hole. With that, we're gonna move on. So, all right, what was the next one? What was the next one? The next one was actually a fun one. Where there we
Talking
go.
about the trade now.
Yes, we are talking about the trade now because my mouth dropped when you sent me that. So and what is it with the Rams? Why do the Rams keep getting people?
Okay, so you want to know what my son said today? That was kind of. I laughed and then I stopped. I said, I'm about to mention that tonight.
What happened?
My son came by and because when I dropped it to you guys, I dropped it into his chat with his friends that they do on sports. And my son was like, "This is the year of the repeat." And he was like, he said, "Our NBA Finals is a repeat of 2027." He said, "Everything's lining up to where now I wouldn't be surprised that you get the Rams and the Bengals in LA for the Super Bowl this year. And this time the Bengals take it to make it 1-1. And then when the Super Bowl circles back around, it's the exact same thing for the tiebreaker with it in between there." He's like, because also Serena announced she's coming back into tennis. Then she's trying to get herself ready to come back, I think, for Wimbledon. You got what was it? It was something else that was a flashback this year. The NBA Finals, that one, it was something. It was something else. He's like the return of the centers being the big story in the NBA. The big men being back in there instead of the guards. He was like it's a whole bunch of repeat stuff that's happening with that. He said there's no way that you would think that out of all the places that Myles Garrett would have went, it would have went to where Aaron Donald was. And I was like, you got a point.
But the only reason I would disagree with that is because of the fact, did you see that last when I last dropped before you let me know that you said you was logging in shortly with the Rams and their first round draft picks? Did they
Yeah,
secretly, quietly turn into the Belichick Patriots when it comes to first round draft picks? Did they
yeah,
quietly
yeah,
and very subtly turn into the Patriots and in terms of giving away all their first round draft picks and and yeah. So, and then the people that they're picking up, they're developing them like the Patriots
Mm-hmm.
without all the controversy and the cool and the allegations of cheating. And they quietly picked up something that they did, and they have a team. The only person that has really been a money issue, one's gone because I believe at least one time Aaron was like my money, and then um and then Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, correct me if I'm wrong, they haven't had too many other rumblings like that that I can or remember
No,
in the immediate.
no. And you're starting to hear the McVay coaching tree, which is weird when he was the youngest coach when he came in there. Now you're hearing the coaching tree from him with that.
Yeah.
It's not the Rams have been, oh, I want to say this. The Rams had their law, but the Rams have been somebody that's been in the forefront in some way, shape, or form since the late 90s.
Yeah.
So you had the run when you had the greatest show on turf when they were in St. Louis.
Yes.
Then they moved out to LA, and that was to a whole bunch of fanfare with it. Now,
Yeah,
this
that was more nostalgia.
right, but the crazy part about that was that I watched something to where they were talking about the Rams are an afterthought in LA, even though they're in that stadium, because most of the times when you go to that stadium, the opposite team's fans outnumber the Rams fans that's in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, for all the nostalgia of it, um, yeah, I can see that because that's part of the reason why they wanted why they moved away from LA because the fans didn't really come.
Right. Well, no, they when they first moved, they had to have a temporary home for a while from LA, and that's when they were staying in they were playing in the soccer field because they was waiting on SoFi to get finished. So, but they jumped the ship the same way like Oakland's done with their move to Las Vegas. They're playing Sacramento, I think, until they open up their field. They had a temporary home. But the problem with the problem the NFL has had throughout their whole tenure there is that yes, you want a team in your second biggest media in the second largest city in the country, but they've never shown that they were adamant sellout football fans. That's the whole reason why the Rams moved to St. Louis in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
They've
because
never been able they've never been able to hold a team. Now, the only reason why they're going to hold a team right now is because of that stadium. But
but
at that
if
same
they're not
instant,
winning, they're gonna be like any
right.
other.
They're gonna be worse than any other team because you
Yeah,
already are at a
ob
disadvantage.
obviously you're gonna have the quote unquote Raider Nation, but the Raider Nation is not selling out the stadium.
No. Now, in Vegas, I would love to see the percentage of season ticket holders that comes to the game in Vegas versus the seat licensing people that own it and resell in LA.
Yeah,
Because Raider Nation, when you think about it, no, Raider Nation wasn't selling out when they were in LA, but they were selling out when they was in Oakland.
yeah,
And when they was calling Oakland the black hole, they were selling out legitimately in Oakland. So you moved away from there.
until it got to the point to where they weren't because uh everybody kept clamoring that they should move back to Oakland, and they
Right.
did. But that not winning says something.
But
It,
it all intents and purposes, let's be real. The only reason why the Raiders jumped ship and went to Vegas was The same reason why Chicago is leaving from Soldier Field and moving down south, or you know what I'm saying, or other teams are taking
Or moving
stadiums
to
outside.
Indiana.
Right, right. That's why I said moving down south, because at the end of the day, if you can't work out an opportunity for you to build a stadium, which to me, if you're grossing over a couple of $1 billion, or your net worth is over $1 billion, and you can't actually fund it, like Kroenke with the Rams funded SoFi Stadium with little tax dollars. Chicago and Oakland was looking for taxpayers to pay up and foot 50% plus of the bill to build a stadium for a team that had ups and downs, or hadn't been good at the time, or as good around the time as they were asking for the money.
Yeah.
So when those levies kept on failing, and you have a team you have an area that's starving for a team like Vegas, they jumped at the bit. A
Which I
lot.
don't understand why. I don't understand if you're that great of a businessman, why don't you throw some fundraisers? You want to get the taxpayers' money, throw some fundraisers, get the players to come out, do some fun stuff with the people, call it a fundraiser. People show up, you entertain them, you get the money, and you end up getting the taxpayer money without them realizing that you got the taxpayer money.
Right.
Now,
And
if I could come up with that idea, and I'm not that much of a businessman, how come these business people that have been doing it way longer than me can't think of something like that? How come their people didn't run something like that by them so that they could because it would have been a win-win. You're giving them something, and little do the people know they're giving you something to get you to stay.
here's the reason why. I'm already giving you a commodity as the team as to why you should want them to stay there. Not thinking about the fact of the team is only pretty much present there a quarter of the year, give or take a quarter to a half of the year, where they're actually something that they're doing that's drawing people into seats or into venues for it. That's the same argument like we've had with like I said about the Bengals and what's going on with Cleveland. Cleveland eventually with their new stadium. Cleveland building a dome is going to open up the opportunity for them to be able to use the stadium for pretty much any event that they want to throw, from a concert to a monster truck rally to high school, college football, soccer, all these different avenues. Why? Because it could be negative 20 degrees outside and you are in a 72-degree temperature controlled dome. They can have car shows there. They can have that. All those things. And the taxpayers, if I'm making that investment as a taxpayer, I'm going to make it to where it can be used that often, where I'm going to see a return on my investment. That place is never closed.
Uh-huh.
Versus taxpayers here in Hamilton County in Cincinnati sitting up here saying, okay, I'm paying an increase on taxes to upgrade a stadium, and I can sit there on two hands, pretty much, two hands and maybe a foot, and count how many Bengals games is played in there, possible playoff games, which it could be normally two playoff games afterwards. We'll never get a Super Bowl because our infrastructure doesn't allow it. And we can't use it for anything else because it's outdoors. The only time you can use it is pretty much the block between now and 2 weeks before the Bengals start practicing on the field. And actually, it's 3 weeks because that second week before the Bengals start practicing on the field, it's normally the Jazz Festival weekend. And that's
Hmm.
always booked a year in advance. So what can you do? We have two stadiums that sit idle more than half of the year that we're footing the bill for. And
Yeah.
we can do the amenities that's inside the building part of it, but the actual premise of what we pay the taxpayer dollars for ain't getting used. And that's what happened in Oakland, to where Oakland's like, we ain't passing that. And what did they do? Vegas was like, we need a team. Let's go do that. Oakland lost both of their major franchise, all their major franchises in the span of a 10-year span, two to Las Vegas, one to San Francisco with the Warriors.
Yeah.
So what do you want them to do? And the crazy part about that is that you'll sit there, you have teams that are crazily fanatic, like the Raider Nation that was in Oakland, like the Rams in St. Louis, and those places don't have teams because they went to go to where they thought the money was, because their owner, the only owner that was in there that sat there said, here, I'm building my own stadium. Y'all gotta pay me. And that revenue that he doesn't have to share that's coming into there, because he doesn't have to pay taxpayers, so he doesn't have to do that, is what's making it to where he can pull the trigger and sit there and say, oh, I'm gonna resign Stafford to a 2-year, $55 million contract. Oh yeah, I'm gonna trade for Myles Garrett. We're gonna keep this ball rolling. That we're never in a rebuilding. That's when you have that owner that's willing to sit there and say, do whatever it takes, versus owners that are willing to just take. They want to just take the money that they're making on the overhead. They want to sit there and only invest minor and get back a major return for it. That's what we used to say Mike
It
Brown
and
was for the longest, until this season, really.
and as much as I hate to say it, and because this is a part of it, and this is what people have to admit, the only reason that works out the way it does is because of the particular players that they picked.
Uh-huh.
Because we could go through and we can find teams that do the stuff. Usually, when you do the stuff that LA did, you end up doomed for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because of the players you picked and the standard you set that it looks different.
Yeah.
And because we sit up here and we call out all this stuff of what Philly does, what Kansas City for a while did, what LA is now doing. Because remember, everybody was laughing at them because they got rid of all their draft picks. They went all in, paying everybody, and they were like, Rams, what are y'all doing? People, the teams that usually do this, they are doomed for life. What are you doing? The
Mm-hmm.
Jaguars, when they super suck, they do stuff like this. The Houston, when they super suck, they do stuff like this. What are you doing? What are you doing? Just taking this big, huge gamble.
But they don't care. As long as it
They
is.
they they don't care. They 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 don't care because they know what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah.
Because that standard is important. I watched the Florida State. Um, and we'll talk more about this next week. Um, I watched the Florida State spring football thing.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it was going to be the football game, but it wasn't a football game. It was the
Mm-hmm.
coach, it was all the coaches and certain players. And they were talking about what went into a season and everything that everybody had to do from a family standpoint, from a team standpoint and everybody's mindset and what it had to be. And it was amazing to see all of the support that the players have.
Uh-huh.
And it made me realize something. Well, I've known it for a while, and it bothers me. The most successful people not only have people that will look at them and tell them that their idea is good, but they'll support them all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they need to do to help, they will help. They will help that person get to where they need to be, no matter what they need to do. And watching that made that kind of depressing. Because I remember when I played football, I didn't have anybody at the game. That used to bother me.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of distracted me. And that's how long it's been that I felt like I'm on my own. I'm alone. I gotta be able to do it. If I can't do it on my own, I'm screwed.
Right.
That mindset didn't just come up one day and just no, this is years and years and years of being in this situation where every time I turn around, I seem to always have a dream and something I really want to do, but I better be able to get that thing off the ground on my own, or I'm done, or it's a waste of a thought. And then that rattles around in my head the whole time, and I'm trying not to give up on it. I don't want to give up on it, but it's like, well, what choice do I have? It's like I got to give up on it. I've
True.
made some kids. I got to pay child support. So that means I got to be at McDonald's. I told you about the whole thing with the MMA. My friend kept running his mouth talking about he could get me in front of sponsors, but because I needed to learn how to get good at working off my back, he wouldn't put me in front of them. And then my ex ended up calling me like, "Hey, they want me to turn you in." I told you to get me in front of the sponsor so I could try to get something so that we could do this. And you wouldn't do it. Now I got to go back to McDonald's. Now I got to go back to Wendy's. Now I got to go find a factory job.
Yeah. And that's the thing that holds up a lot of people from their progress will be because of responsibilities that make it to where they have to own up to those responsibilities before they go on to do something different.
Yeah, because not everybody can get lucky enough to just be on somebody's couch and they know what they're doing and they know that it's not taking off immediately. So they got people willing to support them that whole time. A lot of people they gotta go the long haul and put up with all the stresses of life, and they got to do it on their own, and those people don't always make it. Got a lot of talented people that didn't necessarily make it because, again, the most successful people have the support and they have people that are willing to believe in them
Right.
and give them a chance.
And they choose not to. They
All,
just like,
all, all these people that you see that have made it big, heck, the people on the internet heard what they were doing and gave them a chance, and it
mm-hmm.
turned into something, you know. And I'm gonna figure this thing out because I really wanna. I love what I'm doing. This is about as close to me continuing to do something, even though I can't completely dive into it to like try to get it off the ground. But I'm definitely putting in the effort, and I want to turn it into something, and I'm gonna figure out a way to turn it into something so that I can uh because I'd much rather be focusing on this than what I'm doing. So, but as always, bills got to get paid. So
Right.
I got to figure that part out. And
So
it's
so so
June, and that part needs to something needs to get figured out, you know. So, and I can't keep letting days and months go by. I got to figure out something. I got to start taking some chances. So, but
so how do you feel about the trade? Like realistically, how do you feel about
I'm
the
shocked. Oh,
are
like,
you
oh, oh,
shocked that they did it, or are you shocked that Cleveland finally pulled the trigger, or the fact of first thing that came to my mind was that this is what Myles Garrett wanted from the beginning. He didn't want to just get traded to anybody. He wanted to probably pick and choose where he went to go.
yeah, he did not want to end up on like the Raiders
Right.
or the Jets, even though technically he could help both of them. Both of them could use a Myles Garrett. He
But
wants to go somewhere. He wants to win a championship. I just wish for him that when he uttered those words, he
it
made them do it before even though they were offering him that money. And I get it. Money makes the world go round. I'm not gonna sit up here and totally trash the man for doing something that, and I probably would have done the same thing. Of like, wait, you give me how much? Uh, dang it. I know I want to leave, but mm, that money, and I did kind of vilify him for it, and I do not change my stance. Because I wanted him to win a championship, and I knew he was not going to win one in Cleveland, and that's why I got mad. I was like, dude, okay, they gave you the money, but um, uh, that no, no, you had your out. Get out. I want to see you win a championship. I don't want you to be like a lot of these guys over the history of football, of basketball, that they had a dynamite career, they were a great player, and they don't have a ring. And
but see, so
what's up?
this the only thing that the only thing that I've been saying to everybody is that don't think that this is just a plug and play replacement for Aaron Donald, and they're going to be right back in that hunt for it. I don't. In the NFL,
It
if
don't hurt.
anything, huh?
It don't hurt.
No, it doesn't hurt. But in the NFL, we've seen too much of you have to have the perfect storm in order to ride out to win a championship.
That's what Jared Verse needs. He needs somebody to force them to free him up. And even Aaron Donald, because remember, one of the reasons why they won that championship was why? Because they had to try to stop Von Miller and
And
Aaron
Aaron
Donald,
Donald,
and
right?
they
But
couldn't
but no, but
do it.
Verse got traded. Verse is in the trade. He's in
That's
Cleveland now.
right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so it's not going to free him up. That's why it doesn't. They the trade was for they're pushing all their chips in. They want to win a championship. They want to win a championship quick. They would love to go get
With Matthew Stafford.
Stafford before Matthew Stafford is out. But
Yeah, because they're gonna have to let him go this year. I'm saying after this year, it's probably time for Matt to sit down.
they re-signed him for a 2-year deal. That's what don't make no sense. You
Yeah, but
re-signed
his
him,
back though, his back, which is why they
but
drafted Simpson
so right. So
because
why?
they
Okay,
need a backup in case his back really does take him down. They want
but
somebody.
they guaranteed the money.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what doesn't make any sense. You guaranteed the money.
Well, they had to, or else Matt wasn't gonna sign.
But he was already under contract for this season.
True,
You
but
got him for
he
this
was
season.
he
You
he was
added a year
he
and
was
put it for this season and next season. with
Because
this
once
backup that
again,
you traded up and drafted, and you paid him the money.
yeah, and I get everything you're saying, but as you know, whenever Matt went into one of his moods where it was like money, money, money,
Yeah.
they didn't know if they was gonna have Matt on the field because Matt, whatever they were saying behind closed doors, Matt had them convinced that if they did not do this, not only would they not have his talent, which technically as talented as they are, as long as they keep that line somewhat good, they keep the line good. Matt is a problem. I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't care what you say. You can talk about how old he is. You could bring up all his years in Detroit. Those were those were growing pains. The years he was in Detroit was growing pains and putting him in position that was supposed to, on all levels, make him more mature. Now, as we have found out, some people, life gets better, they get spoiled, and then they start acting spoiled.
And the
And
other
to a certain extent, although he earned it, Matt's acting spoiled, and he's with the right team that's allowing it, but he is making it pay off because at the end of the day, they're having winning seasons, they're putting butts in the seats, and they're having winning seasons.
and see,
Um,
the only other thing though is that with Matthew Stafford, like you said, what doesn't make sense is that maybe this is the Madden coach in me in my head, but you trade up to get his replacement for him to sit for 2 years,
yeah,
possibly. But
yeah,
knowing in a league to where somebody comes around that end and puts a helmet square into his back. Dun dun dun. Or somebody picks him up and just bangs him and just cracks him over the knee. You never know how this league is. Then what?
they would only let that that would only happen in the playoffs, and
And
uh,
and the person that would do it is now a teammate of him with Myles Garrett.
right. So
So basically, they were saving his bacon.
right.
Now, for me, me, I always go into the oh my God. So you have to think about it from this standpoint now. Now the Bengals, for me, and I'm looking at and I've been reading on the different areas where they're doing where they talking about the how the players are looking in the camps,
Yeah,
everything for it.
yeah.
Hendrickson and Watt have not been looking as Hendrickson Watt type in their preseason workouts. Because since they have new coaches, they've been able to get extra workouts in.
So 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 here's the thing, and it's kind of annoying me. They have players. The okay, defensively, especially at the linebacker position, they have players
Mm,
that they can bring up. That one kid that, even though he's a Buckeye, supported him for defending their field, Sawyer.
mm,
Whenever they stuck him in, he looked good.
yeah.
So what is going on that you can't try to see if you can make him a part of the rotation, which will free up if you're gonna keep TJ, then you gotta help TJ. If you're gonna keep Cam Hayward, then you gotta help Cam Hayward. You gotta help him by giving other teams somebody else to be focused on so that whatever talent they have left, you can try to divvy it out over over four quarters. And they've shown it. I've seen it. They have some people, but for some odd reason, because they love their veterans, I feel like that's the other part that's holding back the defense. Now,
Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head about the secondary, but I know that front seven, they got some people that they can plug and play.
Yeah. I'm not disputing that. I just don't think I honestly I want to see once the
And
season comes along.
Tomlin's gone, so you don't have that excuse. And you didn't as far as I know, you haven't gotten rid of any of those players for the front seven that you can plug and play that can make things a problem for the rival teams.
Right.
So if you haven't done that, then maybe, just maybe, it's time to have a discussion. Like TJ, Cam, need to holler at you. I know we paying y'all a lot of good money. We want to win. We don't want to tank. We know it's a long season. We got to figure out a way to get the best out of you and yet get the best out of what's behind you. See if maybe a meeting of the minds, maybe Cam and TJ, maybe some position moves,
Mm-hmm.
something to where you're using more of that younger, more energetic talent that did present problems when they got in. That's another way you can do it. You don't have to tank. You switch people's positions, try to let them get used to it. Can TJ still move around?
No.
Because and what I mean by move around is 1 minute he on the left side, next minute he on the right side.
It's crazy
Can
because
he handle that? Can Cam handle that? You got to come up with something
they
so that
get older, and that's what I'm not understanding why. I would have thought that there would have been some more moves that was made, but maybe they were handcuffed with their financial part of it.
yeah, and that's usually what happens, and that's what people don't like to pay attention to. It's like yeah, you gotta pay Cam. He earned it. You gotta pay TJ. He earned it. But
No, you don't.
but then the problem is you got to pay Hendrickson. You got to pay Sam Hubbard. You got to pay Hill. You got to pay Battle. You got to pay and then what you going to do? Who you going to pay besides that?
Mm-hmm.
Cuz you still got to pay the rest of the roster. I don't
And
know
that,
if the coach if all of the coaching that what is it? Is it isn't it like 277 this year?
I think so. It's 277 or 290s. Hey Google. Oh darn it. Let me see here. What's the salary cap? What's the NFL salary cap for 20? Oh, it's 301.
Now, is that just players or players and coaches?
That's players. Coaches are not included in salary caps.
Okay. So and you still have to be careful with that because bottom line, you still got to be able to pay all your players. And I think another thing that honestly needs to be done is the same thing that's going on in the NBA. Maybe the NFL does because of how brutal the season can be. Maybe it's time to think about an adjustment to you got these second and third stringers. Maybe it's time to start holding them accountable and going, hey, you're gonna do more than just sit on the sidelines, cousin, because we gotta keep our stars for the long haul.
And it's the only thing when it comes to that is the only way that they'll be able to do that and be viable might be to expand the rosters or make it to where practice team players are on the roster to where they can be played in a game if need be in there for it to give that flexibility. But
Yeah, but I mean, if and then this will become a problem in terms of like how much players are being paid,
yeah,
and which I know will be a problem. But then in terms of player safety, I mean, if they're not playing as many minutes and if they're not playing like
we
what
don't
is it?
care.
What is it, a 60-minute game? If they're not playing 45 of it or 50 of it or 60 of it,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe they'll be able to last longer throughout the season. If there's anybody that should be worried about load management, it should be NFL players, not not as much. Well, maybe back when they were really banging for most of the 48 minutes. Um, there's ways to do it, but bottom line, use the entire maybe it's time to start using the entire roster.
It might be. But it all depends on what they.
But then that's gonna make stuff hit different because now the draft is gonna hit different.
Yes, definitely
Now
going to hit
the
different.
draft is gonna definitely be important.
And see, you already seeing how the draft is making it to where people are looking at the interpretations of NIL with how players are not actually rushing to go to the league after their junior year in college football. They coming back to get another season, or they transferring to or to a powerhouse to get trained up before they try to go
And up their chances of getting drafted
drafted. Right.
or of just getting paid and they're just going I'm probably not going to make it anyway, so I'm going to get
Let
as
me go
much
ahead
money
and
as I
let me
can.
go ahead and count this money, because if I'm getting more money than I can get from being a free agent signing and a practice squad player versus me playing another full season of college football, then why wouldn't I take that chance? And that's that dynamic that's starting to get thrown in there. Or you could be like some other people that we know and just take that extra year to gamble some more.
All right. Okay. So good luck. Oh man. And so Jared versus what in Cleveland?
Yes, Jared Verse, the full trade description. Let me go back to Shefty.
Wow.
Because see, Shefty texted me earlier, and I was sitting up here trying to figure out, like, damn, Shefty, why are you texting me so early? Dude, I have a life, and
Your life is sports.
he responded back to me, screw your life. Here's the full terms. So the Rams got Miles Garrett, the Browns got Verse, a 2027 first round draft pick, a 2028 second, and a 2029 third.
I got a question.
Why?
I,
Why?
as
What's your question?
important as he was there, and as much as it would have been more dangerous if you could have had them both. What? Mm, what
I want to see what your question. I think I know what direction your question is going to be. I want to see if your question I can respond back at the end of it to make it make
what
sense.
happened
Nothing.
to where, huh?
Nothing.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. I can almost guarantee you, nothing happened.
Are we sure?
Yeah, because there's been no rumblings. There's been no talk
Yeah,
or anything in there.
yeah, there's been no rumors, and we've seen that happen,
Right.
and
But
then and then not too long after, all of a sudden stuff starts to drop.
this one,
As soon as somebody decides to open their mouth about the trade, then we start hearing stuff.
this one, I don't think it was. I think this one was Cleveland behind the scenes before the draft and after the draft with a regime change. Sat there and had a come to Jesus moment. And there was an article that's been written since then where they say place the blame on what's going on Deshaun Watson in that situation. Because Deshaun Watson situation is pretty much what has handcuffed Cleveland in their decision-making process throughout the whole Stefanski regime that he was there. Now you have a brand new coach coming in there and saying, I want my team to be like this. Why would you want to hold on to, especially remember when we had this conversation a couple of months back when Myles Garrett voiced his disapproval of who they hired because the person that he wanted to be hired, which was the defensive coordinator, didn't get the job. And then he eventually ended up retiring or resigning from the squad. So let's not think of it as what Verse did. Think of it as if I'm the new head coach.
Well, I mean, no, that tells me why Cleveland did it.
Right.
I want to know why LA did it.
Because LA sat there and said, we have an opportunity. Think of it as the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Lakers. We have an opportunity to get the reigning defensive player of the year who just broke the sack record, and we have to give up our young, still developing defensive end and a first-round draft pick that we never care about and 2 other draft picks in order to bring him over here to give our aging quarterback a chance to win another Super Bowl. Why would I sit there and keep the young guy who might not even develop to be at his peak of what the guy that I can get right now? I'm going to pull that trigger.
Well, while I get that, here's one thing I will say. If you could have figured out another way.
There wasn't no other way. You weren't going to get Myles Garrett without 3 draft picks, at least 3 draft picks and 1 or 2 players.
Well, no. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
If they could have came up with 1 or 2 other players, can you imagine the nightmare
Oh yeah, I can imagine it. I can imagine it.
Myles Garrett and Jared Verse.
Right, but who else on that defense would have been tradable for you to send with those picks that would equal out to the value of Myles Garrett? Nobody except for Verse. Everybody else that you got, you just signed. Everybody else you just signed as a free agent. You can't trade them.
Okay. Well, I mean, they had some other young guns.
No, they were good, but Verse was the anchor. You're going to trade an anchor for an anchor. You're not going to trade an anchor for a rudder.
Well, I mean, if you trade multiple of them, that
right, but now you got to fill in the gap with somebody else for another thing. It was a 1-for-1 swap with the parts.
Yeah, but I mean, you're getting Jared Verse and Myles Garrett. Trust me,
it's not.
You could do some. You could do some.
It was at the end of the day. If they would have tried to offer anybody else to it, it wouldn't have got done. And Cleveland said Cleveland probably went to them and said, "Okay, we want Verse." And I'm not going to even sit there and say the Rams didn't sit there and say, "Nah, we don't want to give him up. We kind of want to pair him with it." No, we ain't getting this done unless you give us Verse. And they sat there, and you also have to think about it from this standpoint as well. Garrett's contract is already locked in. Verse is going to be coming up on an extension. Could you pencil in Versus extension that he could be asking for,
Yeah.
along with that $55 million that you just paid Stafford?
Yeah.
That's that dangerous. That's
Damn
that
money.
dirty game, that dirty world. You play
Damn
it,
money.
the money,
Damn.
the money in the 1-for-1 swap.
And that's why I love the football games because I know how to sit up there and go through and backdoor. I don't have to worry about what the salary cap is because I just go in and hit release player.
Right.
I go in and I get all the players I want because I go to the team and go release this player, release that player, and I don't have to worry about the fans being in the uproar because it's my video game.
Right.
It's
It's
my
no
video game. I'm at my house. I'm making things happen. So just so it's known, I'm going to get me an updated version of the Madden game, and
ugh.
Miles Garrett and Jared Verse will be on the same team, and they will win a Super Bowl. Damn it, because that is what is in my head. Because that would be nasty, and I would love to see that. That would be, to an extent, that could be like the equivalent of what Washington had if Dexter Manley hadn't had such a bad drug problem. Do you remember how much of a
Oh
threat
yeah,
him
yeah,
and Charles Mann were
yes.
for the Washington? And yeah, I'm going to say it, the Washington Redskins, because that was their name at the time. Deal with it. Um. Uh. But yeah.
All right. Time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Time. Okay.
So, last topic. Ha 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 ha. Hey, ain't no repeats going on in this piece. Nope, whatsoever. We got tired of flopping. We had centers that just kind of disappeared off the face of
No.
the planet.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
I'm
You know
calling it.
what? That's
I'm
not
calling it.
that's not what we're doing.
Hey,
No.
I'm doing
That
it
had nothing to
because
do with it.
you let a phenom come in there, and you saw the one thing that I hope everybody saw in the 3 out of the 4 teams that were left in that final 4 was the passion that how bad they wanted it, that they left it out on the floor. I'm not counting Cleveland because Cleveland didn't leave it. Cleveland left before the season, the playoffs even, that series even started, especially with their antics after they lost that sweep. Sit up there saying, "Oh, we were tired. We just played 7-game series that you choked and you should have won and ended it and got you some rest, but you didn't. You didn't. You didn't. You played with your food and got pushed to 7. Then you ate it and then realized why you was full by the time the conference finals happened, and you got blitzed until where you was sitting in there like you had the runs in the toilet and got destroyed." So, but the other 3 teams, the Knicks, with the way that they was playing, and the rest that they've been getting in between everything for it, this is going to be a good series. But I wonder how much winning, the emotional toll of winning this series and hearing the conversations that was had about what happened with after the game 4 loss, when Pop had came into the locker room and was like, "This is not how we play basketball," and read them the riot act. No, the game 3 loss, when he read them the riot act afterwards, and then how emotional Wemby was after it was over, because he still was pissed that he didn't get the MVP, and this was basically like his championship. I wonder if they expended so much emotion of winning this one that they're not gonna have a lot in the tank in order to finish it off. I hope that it goes 5, 6 to 7, but you got a rested squad versus a team that just went 7 against the defending champs. I don't know. And the Knicks already didn't beat them. So it's gonna be an interesting final. I'm not going. I'm it's pretty much a coin toss to me because is Wemby going to take over as being the face of the league, or is the Knicks going to end their curse?
So here's the thing. To me, the Knicks still haven't been challenged yet. And the only reason I'm giving them a shot against the Spurs is because of how they played, especially against the Thunder. The reason why I don't want to hear nothing about what's his face in this flopping. I also am not putting this, I'm not going to be like everybody else and completely put this on Chet. And here's why.
Yeah.
I kept screaming. Chet is a part of it. He gets no out. He definitely does not get an out. But you also have to remember that series, who were the actual reasons when the Spurs were losing, who were the actual reasons for the losses? Cason Wallace was a reason.
Mm-hmm.
The defense of Lou Dort was a reason. They kept trying to double team Shea and kept leaving Alex Caruso's punk self open. Another one that they kept leaving open because they kept trying to double and triple team Shea. Jared McCain was killing them.
Mm-hmm.
When they got to the point where they stopped doing that, Hartenstein was killing them because they were doubling. And Vassell and Castle, I know y'all are not as big as Wemby, but y'all have got to do a better job of being down low on the boards. And Wemby, daggone it, you're 7'6". Under
Don't
the
do it.
rim
Don't
to
do it.
get
Don't do
the
it.
rebound.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm gonna tell you why. We've had this discussion going back and forth. Now you're sounding how I did back in the day with it. Now you have to understand how it is. When he wants to go down there, we've seen him get 20 rebounds in the game. We've seen him dominate down there on the block. And then we've seen him pull up from half court and just jump shot it and hit a three.
On
We can't.
defense, he definitely needs to be down there because Castle and Vassell, as good as they are, they're not him. And you cannot, another thing that killed them, especially during this Thunder series, the stuff I just mentioned, but the other part, how many times did you see the Thunder get a second and a third opportunity to score? You
Oh, they
can't
saw
do
it
that
numerous
against the
times.
Knicks. You can't
No,
do
no, no, and that's why I'm saying that. The
you
whole
can't you can't do that against the Knicks. And this is why I'm saying, Wimby, get your butt down low.
he's not gonna have no choice.
And
But
then
here's the
and
but here's
and
the
then
reason why he's not going to be able to. Because what's the one thing that OKC was lacking that the Knicks are not. OKC did not have a center except for Hartenstein that could guard him on the perimeter and on the block. There was times during that series where they had legitimately Caruso on Wemby on the block because he was muscling them out of the block. So
but
who does the Knicks have that's automatically going to do it? They have two with Robinson and with Cat that can do that. And the difference with that is that if Cat is dominating, can muscle him on the inside of it and can pull him out to free him out on the 3-point line, what you're saying is true. And
yeah, but
that's
that's but and that's the other reason why I'm saying just go down low is because there was one thing that Wemby was doing that was making me mad.
which
He
one.
would float when he was trying to pursue, when he would follow somebody, quote unquote, when he would follow somebody away from the rim, he would realize that the reason why they were going out there was to pull him away from the rim. So a lot of times, and this got the Spurs burnt, and especially in their losses when he did this. A matter of fact, Embiid would do it, and I hated when I saw Embiid do it. You sit up there, you playing defense, you got a guy that you're guarding. He goes out to the perimeter. You kind of you float there. You don't go all the way out there.
And that's his discipline.
So then that's leaving him open. That's basically leaving him open for a three. You can't
Yeah.
do it with the Thunder. You can't do it with the Knicks. The
No.
reason why they won this series, I kept screaming it because they kind of tried to turn into Boston, and it pissed me off. This
Well,
whole thing was shooting threes. Just because you can make them, Julian, I like you. Just because you can make them, it's okay to step inside that
but
three-point
that's
line
not
and
their
kill somebody with a
game.
jumper. It's
But
okay.
right, but that's not their game.
And they were taking it's not their game because they don't pay attention to how good they are at it. The
No, that's
the
because of their coaching. It's not because of that. It's they are
the
not. That is
so
not their game. That's never
so
been OKC's game. The only person that drove on OKC legitimately was Shea and J Dub. That's the only
no, I'm
two.
talking about the Spurs.
Oh, the
They
Spurs,
the,
Castle.
did
Okay,
you watch that game one?
yeah,
That blowout, what were they doing?
they were
They were
driving.
they were driving to the rim. The series before it, every time they drove to the rim, and that was the biggest reason that it was making me mad when they would sit up there and allow themselves to just and I get it. It's 4 quarters of basketball. You get tired. I get it. Moving without the
It's
ball
that in
can
the
be
zone.
tiring.
It was that in the zone. When they got put in that zone defense to where they had two bodies double teaming Wemby and Wemby had to kick out, that's when they started shooting the threes. Once they figured out how to get into the spots of the
and
zone
and
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 certain,
and that was yeah, but my whole thing was if you stop moving, the zone is gonna kill you. And I get it. Like I said, that's part of it. Part of the reason they stopped moving was it's like, dude, it's 4 quarters of basketball. It gets tiring. Not everybody is Steph and can run around like a chicken with his head cut off for 4 quarters and seem to have endless energy. I get that.
mm-hmm,
But you have to the but you have to do it if you want to win. That's how they won. It was inside outside, inside outside. Take them to the rim. Don't run into a double team. Don't run into a triple team and then have nowhere to pass the ball to because everybody's tired and nobody's moving, which the games that they lost, they did a lot of. They would run into
mm-hmm.
triple and double teams and then have nowhere to pass the ball because nobody was moving. Everybody was just kind of watching and they be trying to force something and play hero ball that's part of how they got to 7 games.
Yeah, but
That kind of stupid stuff. It was like they sit up there, come down. I don't know if you remember watching this. But this is a perfect, it happened twice. Two perfect examples of what I mean. They literally, the Thunder was guarding everybody on the perimeter.
mm-hmm.
Inside of the perimeter was literally wide open. And this
Yeah,
happened at least twice that I remember off the top of my head.
yeah,
And
when they
when
were daring them
and,
to shoot.
and Wemby, soon as the ball got past the Wemby, he didn't even hesitate. I'm like, dude, you got all that room. Everybody's on the perimeter. Literally everybody. You got all that room. And you mean
That
to tell
part.
me, as soon as you got the ball, didn't have it for more than a second, your first thought was to shoot up a three, and you got everything past the perimeter wide open. Nobody would get to you. And that goes for Wemby, that goes for Castle, that goes for Vassell, that goes for Julian, because Julian can take people off the dribble.
Yeah, but they weren't doing it, and I
And
get
like I
where you.
said, I know part of it is probably it as much as we don't like to hear like, dude, it's 4 quarters of running around, man. You get tired, man. You gotta, that's where part of that ISO. I get where part of the ISO ball comes from. It's not just because of certain people being a ball hog. It's because you're playing a long game, and sometimes your legs just need a break. Your
Yeah,
your your cardio needs a break.
but and
I
especially when you
get
get down
it,
to this,
but it
and
is so
that
annoying when you
and
become
that right
complacent.
there,
As soon as you start hitting threes, you get complacent. You're like,
and
oh, I'm hitting threes. I'm getting hot.
that right there, what you're saying, when your legs get tired, that series ended yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that series ended yesterday. Game one is Wednesday. The Knicks been off for a week.
Hmm.
That's not a good look.
That's
If
not a good look, but the one thing that gives me a reason to believe that they can overcome it was because I was not expecting that game one against the Thunder.
no, but you
I,
have to.
I I was not expecting it at all.
I was, and
And oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you why. When we start talking about that, when we start talking about the series and we start talking about the playoffs in the whole, I sat there and I said, OKC will repeat if they don't get punched in the mouth by the Spurs. Because the Spurs, every chance they got this season, have punched them in the mouth. They have been the Thunder's kryptonite the entire season. I'm going to put this out there into the world right now. Boozer will be a OKC Thunder player in this draft for one reason: to body up Wemby and not leave it on check. If anything, that is why he's going to be, because they have a top 10 pick. That they're going to draft Boozer.
Kirk.
So because the one thing, that one thing, and then seeing the track history that Wemby had with Chet, plus you sat there and he watched the MVP crowning right in front of him that he felt should have been his. I was expecting that on game one because Wemby was pissed. And even with Wemby doing that, they still went to double overtime.
Right. And it's for a lot of the stuff that I said. I feel like whether it's coaching, which I can believe that coaching is a part of it, because even if you're seeing what you're seeing and you're allowing it, that's a coaching issue. People getting complacent or thinking, oh, I'm hot, I'm just gonna start heighting up threes. Just because you get hot at it don't mean that you should just only depend on that. And the games where they depended on that the most is part of the reason why they went to 7. Now, the games that they won was exactly what I've been screaming no matter what team I've been talking about. If you can get the perfect storm of stop me here, stop me there, stop me here, stop me there, stop me inside, stop me outside. You can't stop neither one, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Those teams that have been most successful, like I said, the players that I mentioned were killing the Spurs because they kept trying to double team people and not staying with their man, and they ended up leaving people open. The ball is moving. Even if you don't run around, move the ball. You can make quick passes. There's a lot of times, and I know you see it, no matter what team we've been watching. There's been guys slashing to the rim after a pick, and the ball didn't get passed quick enough. Now, if you add that to what you already can do in terms of beating people off the dribble, passing the ball around until it hits the completely open man,
Mm-hmm.
with the quick with the quick and accurate passing. And for Christ's sake, because you definitely cannot do this against the Knicks. And it made me want to choke people because it even happened in game seven. This thinking that you're trying to make an anticipation pass, not anticipating that the person you getting ready to pass the ball to is getting ready to go inside. They're thinking that you're going to pass it to them on the inside. You're passing it to them where they were. So the ball goes out of bounds. That even happened in game seven. And even though I saw them winning, that was part of the reason why OKC kept getting it back close. Little
Mm-hmm.
mistakes like that. You're on the championship stage. You can't do this now. I wanna I it was so hard to not only talk during the game, but when they won, I couldn't just scream at the top of my lungs because I had my granddaughter laying on my stomach and she had fell asleep
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted her to stay asleep. So I'm like, I just gotta, I'm just
He was doing that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, they did it. I'm sitting up here counting down the time. I'm like, look, we know OKC ain't going away. Shea, Shea is a monster, but he needed a healthy you remember what I talked to you about? Just because somebody come back from injury, don't mean that they gonna be ready to play.
No.
And Jalen Williams is the exact
Yeah, J Dub should not have came back.
he is exactly what I meant. Just because you and this has happened for years.
Yeah.
Football, basketball. Not sure about baseball, just now getting into it. Not sure about hockey, really just getting into that. But I know from football and basketball, I've seen this mistake made
Mm-hmm.
plenty of times. And that's why I'm so knowledgeable about it. And I put it into my explanation when I'm talking about it. So yes, I have not played in the NBA on that stage. I have not played in the NFL, but I have watched and I have watched the carnage that comes from needing certain players and them forcing their hand and it not working out for the team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Casey Williams is a problem. Jared McCain, no matter how you feel about his fingernails and his orientation, when you are making sure that when he's on the court that you are involving him in the offense, which if anything is the reason why they lost, it's that the last two games there was less double teaming, more making people like Williams work, Jared McCain work, making sure like no, you want to get them the ball. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to make it so hard for you to do so. Because usually when Shea was hitting them, he was hitting them in their spot. But if you're chasing them around and you're everybody's tugging and acting like 2 year olds holding on to each other, wanting to ref, hey ref, call a foul. He hold me. You holding him. What are we doing?
That was hilarious watching that. That
I
was
know, right?
I was watching that and I was like, are you serious? Let him go. Let him go.
Hartenstein and Wimby were the biggest egregious people doing it. And it was like, dude, what are y'all doing? I mean, y'all are not. I mean, the camera, you do understand that the camera is on you right now. Even if, even if they miss it in the moment, all the other coach has to do is challenge it, and we have a problem. Just like I told you last week about that one play that I saw a Wimby do, where he was running down court and he was literally had his body on the Thunder player and he kept shouldering him in the face. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? That's an unnecessary foul that you don't need. Don't give the Thunder any ammunition to get hot and cause you to go home. What
Right.
I get it. You're channeling your love, you're channeling your hate because you didn't make MVP and you felt, but you still got to make good decisions.
Good
I said
decision.
I want to see a competitive. We can't see it competitive if you're getting ejected, and he cannot. Speaking of getting ejected, he cannot get ejected against the Knicks.
Yeah. It,
None of them can.
no, they can't. They
Nobody
cannot.
gets ejected. Keep your emotions in check no matter what happens, even the head coach. Keep your energy in check because they can beat the Knicks. Because, like I said, to me, they haven't been challenged yet.
Nope. I don't think so either.
Because James Harden, when we thought James Harden had turned a page, it was because the way he played in the regular season was the way he was playing in the playoffs, and that's what helped them beat Detroit.
Right.
And
But then
then for
he
some
showed
odd reason, that didn't happen against the Knicks at all. And it's like, and then even when it did, it was like it was the Harden Mitchell show. Y'all not winning that way. You're not winning that way, just like the Spurs. As much as I like uh Castle and Vassell and I like Wemby, oh, y'all gonna need everybody. Cornette, you showed up. You had that special block against Hardenstein. You started getting them rebounds to give the Spurs extra possessions, and you started playing exactly how I said you needed to play to help the Spurs win. And that's what you did. And that's one of the only reasons. That was another reason that the Thunder was not expecting.
hmm
Everybody gonna have to step up. Harrison, Barnes, love you. North Carolina, all day.
Nah, Harrison Barnes ain't stepping up no more. He's
I,
done.
I, I, I lo- he's stepping up, but his aggression is a little bit tends
He's
to be a little
old.
tends to be a little too aggressive.
He's older. He
I
has
get
to be
it,
that aggressive in order
but
to
but
try
that's
to
the
make
thing. But that's the thing. He ain't gonna need to do much, and he's been showing that he can still be aggressive, and I don't mind it. Don't get the unnecessary fouls though. Because they're gonna need you. They're gonna need every all hands on deck for this one. And everybody's gonna have to contribute. When you're on the court, you're gonna have to contribute on the defensive end and be smart and not foul. And you're gonna have to contribute on the offensive end. Even
Yeah.
if it's only 8 points, that's 8 points that Wemby and Castle and Vassell and everybody else. Um, um, uh, uh, Keldon Johnson. Oh my God. Yeah, they're gonna need you besides shooting threes. They're
Do
gonna
you
need you slashing to the rim.
so
Bryant, for Christ's sake, I need you making smart of everybody on the Spurs. I need you making smart decisions. That stupid foul that you committed that everybody and their mama saw on Shea.
hmm
Uh-uh. I immediately said he lucky I'm not the coach. Nobody would have saw him for the rest of the game. I would have said, look, I want you to head to the locker room. I don't want to see you when I get back to the locker room. I don't want to see you when I get on the plane. I don't want to see you. If we lose this game, you may not be on the team by the time the next game starts. Because that was stupid.
so last question
Okay.
coming to this. Who do you trust stopping Jalen Brunson in crunch time on the Spurs?
Oh,
Because let's be real, some of those games, besides the last one against Cleveland, was tight going into the second and third quarter. And then when the fourth quarter hit, and Jalen Brunson, who is Captain Clutch, took it over.
but here's the problem,
Mhm.
and everybody's going to have to learn from what happened. What's been the reason that they haven't been able to make it until now? Like I said, they haven't been challenged. How do I know that? When Brunson was challenged and he had to defend for 4 quarters,
Mhm.
he had nothing left.
Right. But
when
but
when when
but where you
when
say
when when Towns has to be challenged not only on the offensive end. You got to get him pouting. You got to get him like Travis Kelsey.
okay,
If you start getting him pouting early, he's gonna mentally check out.
okay. But the question is, who on the Spurs do you trust to shut Jalen Brunson down in the fourth quarter when this team, even though they haven't been challenged, is on an 11-game winning streak? Where the last two game fours, when they closed out series, he didn't play the fourth quarter and still hit his numbers. Who
And
on the Spurs?
who was challenging him and making him play on both ends of the floor, because that's what, remember, remember, that's part of what took Shea down. As good as Shea is, the reason why he was so tuckered out and wore out is because he's doing his thing on the offensive end of the floor and they're making him work. And let's remember last year. How come the Knicks didn't make it last year? It wasn't just because of the coach. It was because people made him work on both sides of the floor, made him work in terms of bringing the ball all the way, even
Mhm.
trying to get the ball across court. That's why they came up and said, well, maybe Brunson don't need to be the point guard so that he could be more free. Why did they say that? Because when he was the point and you made him work, he didn't have no energy in the fourth quarter.
And now
Now,
they've
what?
added now
Now, the
they've
way
added
you would have to tweak
Alvarado.
it, the way you would have to tweak it, because they're obviously making it where they've obviously learned that lesson. So now he's not going to have the ball as much, but
Yeah, that's
you
why they
could
have
still
Alvarado
make
up and
him
grinding all
work.
day doing it.
You could still make him work to get open. You could
Mhm.
still make him work on the defensive end. Like I said, they haven't. None of them have been challenged yet. So literally what they've been doing is usually what I do to teams, but you know what I do to my teams. And what's going to happen when they actually get challenged? The Spurs have an opportunity to challenge them, and that's why I'm pointing out all their flaws, that if they don't get them in check, yeah, the Knicks are going to beat them. This
Here's the
this
thing.
stuff where they're so keyed in on Brunson that they're trying to double team him, so they're leaving other people open.
And see, this is where, and my closing statement on it will be this.
Yeah.
The Spurs won their Super Bowl yesterday. They're not going to have enough against a rested team to beat those Knicks. The way that Knicks team has been playing, to where that's a more energetic Knicks team than the one that was worn down by the time they got to the Pacers last season and lost it to the Pacers that ended up losing to OKC. I got Knicks in 6.
Okay.
I think that they're going to lose. They're going to lose at least one of them in New York, and they're definitely going to lose one in San Antonio. But I don't think the youth part of Wemby and Castle and all of them, they're a year ahead of schedule. I see them starting to go on their run starting next season. If OKC doesn't find a way to combat Wemby, but with this Knicks squad, after going 7, if San Antonio would have ended OKC in 6 and had a little bit extra time, I would have gave them that. Coming off the emotion that was of winning that game 7 away in order to do that, and then you got to go back home, then you got to go away to Madison Square. And Madison Square is a pressure that is different than anything in the world. And you're going to Madison Square for game 1 of the NBA Finals. Nah.
Okay. Okay.
And if San Antonio wins it, you're seeing where everybody was christening the OKC dynasty. You're about to see a run of possibly the whole Warriors Cavs thing, but it's in the West, in the Western Conference Finals, because those are the 2 best teams. Everybody else is still chasing it, and everybody else has to rebuild for it, including my Lakers. You have to figure out something to where you have to legitimately, the Lakers cannot get into that conversation unless they get Giannis. Basically, anybody in the West can't get in that conversation unless they get Giannis. That's close to it. Because nobody has somebody like Wemby or Chet that can pull you off the block and still defend on the block.
Yeah, and this whole thing with Chet, by the way, like I said,
I was joking when it came to Chet. Chet's not to blame for it.
I named off all the stuff that contributed. Yes,
Mhm.
Chet was affected by Wemby, whether he wants to admit it or not.
No,
I saw it firsthand, and um and I think that's another thing that's not being taken into effect when it comes to the Knicks. Also, it's it's when you have to alter that shot all game, when you have to alter your shot because of who's in front of you, and then that's why I said that when he sits down so that he can have enough in the fourth quarter, who's gonna stop him? That as much as you want to give me Brunson, who's gonna stop Wimby? Who's gonna
that's
stop Castle? Who's gonna stop who's gonna
ooh,
stop
I don't
Basley?
know. I don't know because you got the whole Villanova boys, plus you still have Robinson, even with a bad pinky, that's a great defender. And if Cat is engaged, you have them in there for it. That's
And
what's caused them to
and
be able to blow out teams by
and
40 and 50.
and yeah, and it also helps that the teams aren't presenting much of a challenge. That's not what the West is going to do. The West is going anybody from the West is going to present more of a challenge. So for me, this is not, whether it's the Spurs or whether it's the Knicks, this is not a lock for either one of them because they all
No,
have flaws that at the end of the day they're going to have to diminish their flaws as much as possible to for either team to have a shot, because like I said, if you make them work, which this will be the first time that you can legitimately say that this is the first time that they actually had to that they'll have to work. So there's going to be
mhm.
as much. And then what about the pressure? We talk about the pressure on the young boys. What about the pressure on everybody on the Knicks?
I don't think there's any pressure
Who?
on them. I don't think it's any pressure on them. I don't. And here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. Because right now, they've already surpassed what they thought they were going to be at in the first place.
So
I
we're
don't
going
think
to
there's no pressure.
diminish. So we're going to diminish the fact that everybody is wanting them to break the curse. Are we
No,
really
no, I'm
about to
not
take
I'm
them
not
out of the same? So then
but
there
this
is
is what
pressure.
but this is
They
where I'm
have to do
saying,
it.
right, but this is where I'm saying the
Plus the
pressure,
other thing, they got
the
rid of Thibodeau. You remember what I told you
right,
about that?
and but
They
here's
have
the
to
part.
win.
Right, but here's the part of it that eradicates the whole Thibodeau thought process. Thibodeau was what? A defensive coach, right? They were worn down because of the length of time he was playing them and his onus on defense, right? You don't get to 3 closeout games in series where you blow out the opponent by over 30 points without playing defense. All 3 of their closeout games, they've beaten all 3 opponents by more than 30.
They beat them by 30, but again,
But what? You can't go on a 60 to
the team
14
weren't putting
run.
up much of a challenge, and we
60 to
know it.
14. Come on now, 60 to 14 run. And you're gonna say it wasn't no defense involved in that whatsoever?
What offense was being put up? I'm not going.
Obviously, if the defense is there.
I'm not going to diminish their defense, but the caliber, the caliber that we know that a Harden, at least during the regular season, is capable of. We know he most of the time he don't bring it in the playoffs. He can't bring it in the playoffs because he's forced to play on both sides of the ball, and he can't do it for 4 quarters.
So what
And
about Donovan? What
same
about
thing with Donovan.
What about Edgecombe? What about um
same thing
Max?
for every same thing applies for every single one of them. You can't do everything by yourself.
Right, but the whole premise of the whole way that they blitzed
It
through
was
the
basically
conference,
Edgecombe and Maxey versus the Knicks. It was Mitchell versus the Knicks.
and that's why I'm saying,
And that's
even with
not what it's going to be in
I'm not
the
saying
Spurs series.
I'm not saying that, but the first time if their defense shows up the way that it has been, even with those individual talents with that, and they go on a 20+0 run against those Spurs, with those young kids playing against that defense. And you have to remember, this is not, yes, you can sit there and say this Knicks team this is their first year under Mike in that aspect of it. But 4 of those players been playing basketball with each other for at least the past 7 years.
And I get and respect that, but again, we're diminishing the fact that
I'm not diminishing anything. I'm looking
we're
at it
diminishing the fact that none of the teams that they played were complete teams.
But is it their fault? And did they play
It's not their fault.
Did they play
I'm not gonna sit
lose?
up here and boost somebody up super high and ignore the details.
We always sit there and say
That's one of the reasons.
We always sit there and say when you have an
one
opportunity to step on somebody's neck, you step on them and you finish them.
Right.
You cannot sit there.
That's not
But it doesn't matter who. That's the thing. Because if it mattered who it was with that, then we would have been saying OKC should not have lost to the Spurs because they didn't finish champs.
They should have lost to the Spurs.
They should have, because the Spurs whooped their ass throughout the season.
They should not have according to the way that they normally play.
It didn't matter, because if you looked at the season, the Spurs were the better team against the Thunder the entire time. That's why I picked the Spurs.
But do you see the difference? But do you see the difference in the way it went during the regular season and the way it went during the playoffs?
No. The Spurs beating the Thunder went exactly how I thought it was.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They played how many games during
5?
And how many of them did the Thunder win?
1.
Okay, now let's go to the playoffs. They played how many times?
They won 2 of them, and one of them was one. And how many of those was even remotely close to being a blowout? Game 4? No, game 3 when Pop went off on them. That was the only one that was a blowout.
They ended up losing 2 straight.
They lost. The OKC lost game 1, won 2 and 3, lost 4, won 5, lost 6, lost 7.
Yeah. Daggone it. Where is it?
Yeah, there wasn't no blowouts. That's why I said it was never. Okay. the Thunder I did not think the Thunder was going to beat San Antonio because they couldn't match up with them. But the only the three matchups you got between the Knicks and the Spurs this season, the Knicks won 2-1, including the NBA Cup championship. And they had everybody on their squad. That's what I'm saying. It's not the Knicks might be the only kryptonite that the Spurs had because their defense is probably one better than most of the Western Conference. And it's funny how their defense, and I didn't get a chance to check their defensive rating. I thought I heard them say their defensive rating was better this season than it was with Thibodeau. Which Mike Brown is not a defensive coach. That's what made it. That's why I said there's something about a team that clicks and they congeal at the right time. This run that they are on, no, I don't think that they can go sweep the Spurs, but the way that they're doing that, and they're doing it on both sides of the ball, just like we're saying that the Knicks ain't been challenged with that, the Spurs ain't seen nobody's defense that's like that. Because OKC, right, wrong, or different, OKC did not play that well of defense against them. So it's going to be, that's where I'm saying it's going to be a legitimate toss-up, but
they played more, they presented more of, the Spurs had more challenges, partially because of their youth, but also because of the teams they played, because the and the other because of the teams they played, because no matter what we want to say, we always have said that the West is way tougher than what goes down in the East. And that's another thing that I feel is we can't say that and agree on that and then ignore it because of what the Knicks have been doing. At the end of the day, they they were playing in what did we nickname the Eastern Conference? The Eastern Conference.
Okay, so all right, so let's, before we wrap this up, just to do this, the Knicks came in there as the 3 seed in the West. I mean in the East. They played against the 6 seed Atlanta. Atlanta pushed them, and then they blew them out that game that we was like, what the hell happened? Then they swept Philly, who was the 8 seed that had upset. No, that was the 7 seed that had upset the 2. Then they swept Cleveland, who was the 4 seed that upset the 1. San Antonio beat Portland. They got pushed by Minnesota and then went to 7 against OKC. The best defense that they went up against out of those 3 was Minnesota's. Realistically. And Minnesota, you have to think about it. If Minnesota wouldn't have had what's called on 2 bad legs in there, would have been even a little bit more, and Randall not disappearing, would have been even more competitive.
And why did Randall disappear? Speaking of people that which is another reason why you know that they weren't challenged, because when Towns is challenged, what does he do?
Towns has been challenged this playoffs, and he's responded.
By
That's
who?
why they've swept.
He's been challenged by who? He wasn't challenged by Embiid because
Embiid was hurt.
Exactly.
I won't say Embiid.
So who was he challenged by?
But the bigs, the 2 bigs that Atlanta had challenged him for it because they were calling him out in that first series about him not showing up.
You really thought? Come on, man. Come on, man. Me, you know basketball.
I know. I'm saying
that was not.
But you can't sit there and say that they weren't calling out.
They weren't challenged.
At the beginning of that Atlanta series.
They were. Nobody thought that Atlanta had a snowball's chance, no matter what they did. You knew that
we didn't even expect Atlanta to make the playoffs after they traded away Wes McCall.
Exactly.
So I give you that. But so that makes it worse.
Exactly. So what? No. So he had no challenge. He didn't have no challenge. None. He had none.
I'm not going to sit there and say with a definitive voice that
He had nothing.
there that San Antonio's path was any easier or any more difficult than what the Knicks was. All I'm saying is that their series against Portland, Portland shouldn't have won a game against them. And I think they swept Portland. I think that they
Yeah,
swept Portland out. They
they won
swept
that one
Portland out.
game, and other than that, it was 4-1. Yeah.
Right. So they swept Portland out. And then Minnesota, I watched one of the games when Minnesota was playing against them, and I'm like, what are they doing? It's too many times when I've had to ask the question with San Antonio to what are you doing? Then I've had to ask with the Knicks.
Yeah,
That's
but
where
I
my
mean,
whole
but
thought
if there's no
process.
challenge there, you don't have to ask that with the
But
Knicks.
it's not. But to sweep
If
repeatedly.
you got no challenge, you better sweep. If you have no challenge, you better sweep. That's what made the Atlanta thing such a head scratcher. It's like they weren't even supposed to make the playoffs. The last thing they should have been was a challenge to the Knicks.
How many games do you think the Spurs are going to win it in?
Mm.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're
I
telling
think
me
they can
that
beat
Senate,
them.
huh? You
I
what?
think they can beat them.
Okay, how many games? Because here's the thing: if you're saying that the Spurs are going into Madison Square Garden for a Game 7 to win a championship, God bless you.
Tell that to OKC.
Okay, see that right, but Oklahoma City versus Madison Square,
Uh,
the Mecca.
uh, 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 championship team that played as a team and won the championship last year compared to a team that should have been in the championship and this is the first time they've gotten there
How many games?
on it's gonna be at least six.
So you saying Knicks in six? You saying Spurs in six? I'm saying Knicks in six,
Yeah,
which means
I'm literally not saying we're having this conversation. I'm not saying it's going to be easy because I know I've watched the Spurs and I've rattled off all the things that they're gonna have to clean up. And it's gonna be hard for them to clean up because it's a habit. Part of it is habit, part of it is games, part of it is coach allowing it. But like I said, this is not going to be an easy series for anybody. But I'm not going to sit up here and look at what the Knicks went through and be like, oh yeah, I'm not going to be like Stephen A. Oh yeah, this is definitely the Knicks
oh
time.
no, no,
No, it
never
is
that, never that.
not.
I come
No,
back.
it is not.
I come with more.
Like you can't look at nothing there because one could question if Maxi never runs into Embiid's leg before that series starts, would it have been a sweep?
Yeah, we don't know, but we got to
And
play with what's.
and that's what I'm saying. And
But
as
we
soon as
have
that happened, that was the biggest part of it because the only reason the one of the main reasons that the 76ers made it past the Celtics was because up until that game 7, when Embiid lasted the whole thing.
true.
And I
That's
told
true.
you that Embiid was gonna have to be a key reason that if the 76ers beat the Knicks, Embiid was going to be an important part as well as the rest of the team. It couldn't be just Edgecombe and Maxey. It just no. It just no. It
No,
couldn't just like I thought because of what I knew that Mobley and Allen were capable of, I thought that they were going to play like big men. They didn't play like big men. Gee, I wonder why it was a blowout.
yeah. That's why when it comes
that's
to
and that's why I say they didn't have a challenge because the people that were supposed to be where they were supposed to be, whether it was an injury that happened before the series started or the people were there, it was just like, wait a minute, you were projected, you're supposed to be this, and you showing up, you showing up like that. You showing up like like I set you to rookie.
And that's why a lot of it when it comes down to the final take on that is with everything that's on the line there and with the youth that's there, in order for San Antonio to win it in realistically to win it in 6, they have to sweep out in San Antonio and win at least one in New York. Versus New York does not have to win. They have to win one in San Antonio and sweep out.
Oh my God. Dude,
I don't think it's going to be
I feel so
interesting.
bad because the show really got good, especially when we started talking about this series. Oh my God.
Yeah, because
The show really
this is
got
the
good.
culmination. Because you
It
got to
got
think about it. This is the
spicy.
high point. This is the high point, folks, of
Uh,
everything until end of July. Realistically, because after the NBA Finals is up, and we didn't even talk about hockey.
yeah, the Hurricanes made sure that there was no question.
No,
And
no, it wasn't even just the Hurricanes. Shoot, go Vegas and what they did to the President's Trophy winners. That
I
was
don't know
ugly.
how, but I literally did not get to watch like any of their games because I could not find them for some
They
odd reason.
whooped Colorado's ass, and it was not even close. And
Oh
Colorado
wait,
had been
that's
everybody.
who they were playing to get to the
Yes, they were
championship.
playing against Colorado, and they put Colorado out.
I think I might have got. I think I got to watch part of one and I watched one. I see.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was
so everything's been so crazy. I didn't realize that was their
that was their
the,
Western Conference. I didn't even realize they because Colorado. I think Colorado, and it's kind of funny. I want to say Colorado had swept out the first 2 rounds, and then got swept. They legitimately got swept out. I thought it was either swept or it was a gentleman's sweep. Go
yeah,
Vegas.
they 4-0 Kings, 4-1 Wild, and then
Yep,
and then they got swept.
yep. So they went. They were 8-1 coming into that series, and then Vegas came in there and said, "Nah, go home. Y'all did good." And the hear that fact that it's been I want to say it's been 16 years, they said, since a President's Cup winner won the Stanley Cup. So the best team in the league through the regular season won in the Stanley Cup. And it has still been like 30 some odd years since a Canadian team that won it. And they the ones that invented hockey.
And now the craziest part about that, which hopefully this is not a jinx, the Avalanche pretty much swept, and then they got swept.
Yep.
Hopefully, and then
It
where the
doesn't happen to
Kings
the Knicks. I know.
they went
I
to
thought about it
six,
when I
they
said
went
it.
to six, and then they were the ones to sweep.
Yep.
I I I still do not think that a sweep will happen in the NBA.
Weird shit is
I
happening.
respect the Knicks that much, and I pay attention to my team that much, but
If they get
I
swept, Mike
will
Brown gets
laugh.
fired.
Dude, I will literally just fall.
If
I don't think I'll be able to leave my house. My stomach will be hurting.
if they get swept, because folks, if we don't look at this right, game 1 is the 3rd. I want to say game 2 is the 5th. Game 3 would be happening the 8th. If I remember the timeline for this, I think it's a 2-day gap in between games 2 and 3. If they get swept, matter of fact, let me check this before I forget.
Yeah, let's see here. I'm seeing the games. I'm trying to see the dates. Yeah, June 3rd, June 5th, June 8th will be
10
game three.
is game 4 the 10th or the 11th?
For some odd reason, it's not wanting to show me. Let me see if I can hit calendar and get here. Why it's not wanting to let it won't let me see past the 8th. Let me see.
I'm checking it now.
Yeah, the 10th, the 10th and the 13th will be
So the way that they're doing this is game one is the third day off, game two, 2 days off, game three, a day off, game four, 2 days off, game five, day off, no, 2 days off, game six, and then 2 days off, game seven. The season they
so it'll end on June 19th
yeah,
when my renter's insurance is due if they go 7.
yeah, if they go seven. So we got 2 episodes to debate this at minimum.
All right. Oh, dude, this has been so fun. Like I said, especially at the end, and it sucks it has to end, but it has to end. I'm Dante Suave. This is Mr. J. This is
I'm out
United.
this piece. I gotta go. I gotta still go do some other work, and yeah, and still recoup from this weekend. So everybody enjoy y'all week. Enjoy the NBA finals. If you can catch the Stanley Cup finals, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be completely biased here and say that is a better championship than the NBA finals just because of the ceremony and the pageantry of that trophy and what they get to do. Um, and yeah, watch some college baseball too, because that's actually getting real good too. Shout out to UC. Sorry about your luck. Come back fight next year.
Later, everybody.
Later.